It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Alex Kantrowitz is here from the Big Technology Podcast. Nicholas De Leon from Consumer Reports, and flew all the way in from Vatican City, Father Robert Balacer in studio, the digital Jesuit. Lots to talk about this week. Of course, there's those 5 new bills in Congress to censor big tech. We'll see if they could pass. Alex has an opinion. Might surprise you. Also coming up, we're going to take a look at Windows 11. Father Robert's running it. He says it's not that big a change. And would you like to buy the original source code for the World Wide Web? It's an NFT. All that coming up and a whole lot more next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 828, recorded Sunday, June 20th, 2021. Space, 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 space. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and NetApp. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and an integration center for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. And by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with the code TWIT75. Offer ends June 30th, 2021. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show we cover the week's tech news. And we got a great panel for you. We're continuing in our plans to slowly bring people back in studio. And look who showed up. Just got off a plane from Rome. Father Robert Balacer, the digital Jesuit, is in-house. Robert, it's so nice to see you.
It's nice to be seen.
How long has it been since you were in the studio last?
At least a year. I mean, because I was out of the States all of 2020. So, we'd have to go back to probably 2019, maybe around June or so.
Oh, man.
It's been a while.
Man, this pandemic has just been endless, but it seems to be sorted, at least here. I know not so much in Italy.
Yeah, we've it's gotten really bad down in the South. So the South wasn't hit early on. It was mostly the North. It was
the North, right.
And the North is where they concentrated the vaccination program. So now, like Sardinia is terrible. Don't go down. And unfortunately, we're also getting a lot of the younger generation that is tired of the pandemic. So
they probably also can't get the vaccine.
They can't.
Right?
They're doing it by age level. So I still can't. At my age, I still can't get it.
Wow.
I'd be able to get it probably in August. And because they're trying to get everyone with at least one dose, they're spreading it out. So it's a 2.5 to 3 month wait between doses.
Which may also impact the effectiveness.
Correct.
Well, I'm glad you came home, and I presume you got it when you got here.
I got my Pfizer's. I'm all good. I got my double stamp.
It's Pfizer-fied. You got your sequel injection?
There are so many good jokes for all of that.
Isn't that a good one for that second? I think it was Alex who came up with that. Alex Kantrowitz is also here from Big Technology, his Substack newsletter. Longtime tech guy who's become a sovereign writer on his own. It's great to see you. Welcome.
It's great to see you too, Leo.
Thanks for coming back. Me. Yeah. How's it going with the Big Technologies? When did you start it?
Actually, this is a good time to celebrate. It's a year old as of this month. It's been real fun and it's going well. Just surpassed 10,000 subscribers.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. So people seem to be signing up and sticking around, which is a good sign. And that was definitely an early goal, hit 10,000. The first 10,000 is the hardest. So we made it over that hill and, onwards and upwards.
Very congratulations. That is a big number. That's a big deal. That means it's sustainable. That's wonderful.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's great. Also joining us from a little publication you might have heard of, Consumer Reports, Nicholas De Leon. It's always great to have you, senior reporter and technology guy at Consumer Reports.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, good to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, are you in Upper New York State?
I am in the Hudson Valley in New York State, which is about 90 minutes north of New York City. Consumer Reports is based in Yonkers, which is like 30 minutes north. And then I'm another hour north of that. So
I love the Hudson Valley. It's so pretty. So pretty up there. And it's good to have this particular panel here because we are talking about big tech in a lot of different ways. But so much to talk about. We will talk about, you were running Windows 11. That's going to be announced later this week. We will talk about that. But I want to talk about what happened last week, which is Congress introduced not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 bills regulating big technology a little less than a week ago. Alex, of course, this is right up your alley. The bills are mostly antitrust. You actually break them all down, which is nice. Bill 1, the American Innovation and Choice Online Act, which is the AIACOA. IACOA. Doesn't not
there are
a good.
Also sorts of fun acronyms for these.
Usually they have good acronyms. That one's not so good. The Ending Platform Monopolies. These were all introduced in the House of Representatives. That's Bill 2. 3 is Augmenting Compatibility and Competition by Enabling Service Switching Act. This is the only one that I kind of really think is a good idea. It's the Interoperability Act, essentially saying that data should be portable. The Merger Filing Fee Modernization Act of 2021. This is the one that everybody says will probably become law. The Senate even will probably pass this. All it is another tax. If you file for a merger, there's the new higher fees will pay for regulation. That's I think Elizabeth Warren's bill.
Yeah,
and
the Senate has already passed it.
Already, that's right. They passed it. Now the House is
on a clear path.
Yeah, but the rest of them probably not. Bill 5, Platform Competition and Opportunity Act. Mm-hmm. So Alex did a great job. All 5 of them in one spot. If you want to read them. But what is your take on these? Besides the additional fee for mergers, does any of them have a chance?
Well, I've long said that there's very little chance that big tech is going to actually be reined in.
Yeah.
And that they won't be broken up. They won't face serious legislation. Congress doesn't know what it's doing. The regulators are weak. I am starting to change my tune a little bit. Oh. I'm not saying that these will necessarily be passed, but I'm saying there is a better chance of these things being passed into law and signed by Joe Biden than I think we could have anticipated in the past. The fact that Lina is running the F.T.C., which I know we're about to get to, and the fact that these bills have bipartisan support, some of the exact same bills have been introduced in the House, passed in the Senate, have bipartisan support in the House, and the wild card is Rupert Murdoch, who is no friend to big tech, is pushing Republican lawmakers to support these bills, and you've seen Tucker Carlson go after those who haven't. And so that way you can have anti-big tech Democrats coming together with Republicans who already don't like big tech because of the censorship claims, and then you have Rupert Murdoch who doesn't like them because of the business realities. Everybody comes together in one big happy family and actually can cause some damage here. So the smart money would say that there's not a great chance that 4 out of the 5 outside of the merger money will be passed. But I would say if you had to bet on it, there's a much better chance that this stuff will go through now than there was, a couple of years ago when senators were asking Mark Zuckerberg how to send email through WhatsApp.
Right. And of course, the right has one reason they want to regulate big tech, primarily stemming from Facebook and Twitter's banning of President Trump. The left has another reason it's more antitrust. It's because traditionally Republicans are pro-big business, right?
Right, yeah. And this really doesn't touch on the censorship issue that the right is so concerned about. 3 out of the 5 bills here, I admit, when I first read them, it gave me the Can Spam Act vibe where, okay, it sounds good, but they're not going to really enforce this. It's going to be impossible to actually do anything with it. But the fact that they've picked Khan to head up that office, and you could essentially take 3 out of the 5 bills from her paper, the one that she published on platforms and commerce, that she did for the Columbia Law Review.
Lina Khan is the new chairman of the F.T.C., youngest ever, 32 years old, and is very well known for her anti-big tech writings.
And this is not a coincidence. They're essentially giving her the ammunition she needs to go after them. So if she had just taken over, it would have been an uphill battle. If the bills were standalone, it would have been an uphill battle. But you have a commissioner who now has laws.
It's all kind of lining up.
There you go.
Alex, you'd call one of them a dumb rocket, not a well-guided missile, and in particular, one of the 5 bills you don't like is the bill that would prevent, which actually on the face of it seems reasonable, prevent companies from acquiring potential competitors like Facebook did with Instagram and WhatsApp to eliminate competitors in the marketplace. But you say that, and I think you make a good point here, that's going to hurt innovation, because one of the reasons people start companies is so that they'll be acquired by a big tech company like Google, Facebook, Amazon, or Apple.
Well, it's not so much that the end goal is to get acquired by big tech. I think anyone who starts a company really hopes that they'll IPO and become the next one of these companies. But most startups don't succeed. And so you want to have a safety net there just in case you don't reach IPO level. You don't want to end up capitulating and getting bought by a small company for a low amount of money or having to fold your operation. And these 5 big tech companies have made some big acquisitions for companies that aren't ready to go public, but do create some real value. And so it's not as much as like what's going to happen if they stop the acquisitions today. It's how does that change the incentives for startup founders? Because I think startup founders are pretty smart. They think about where they're going before they get there. And if they see that their predecessors aren't able to have impressive exits if they can't IPO, they might change their calculation about whether they want to start their company in the first place. And if we do have less companies starting in the country, we're going to end up having, as you mentioned, less innovation. And so I think that's a really big deal.
You also make an excellent point, and we have a very good example of that. If companies are prohibited from acquiring other companies, Facebook did get Instagram and WhatsApp, but they wanted Snapchat, and Snapchat said no, then what they'll do is one of two things. They'll either create a competitive clone, which is what Facebook did to Snapchat, and try to put it out of the business that way. That might, you might argue, well, that's good because there'll be competition now. Or they hire the people from that company. Right. They hire away all the good talent and then, in effect, hollow the company out from the inside. Neither of which outcome really is ideal. I think it's probably better for Facebook to clone Snapchat than it is for them to buy it, though. So
I think there's a good lens here is to look at it through the eyes of Lina Khan, because her thing and the way she's looking at monopolies and antitrust is not just, oh, you're big, therefore you're a monopoly. She's looking specifically at platforming. So if you use your platform to then decrease competition, even if it keeps prices down, she believes that's still anti-competitive. So what she's opening the door for is you can be the platform, but you have to be a common carrier. You can have acquisitions, but you can't have acquisitions if you also run the platform. I think that's actually a good balance, because I agree. I think that it can stop innovation if people don't know if they're going to be able to recoup their initial investment because they can't get all the way through with the startup. But you can have that without allowing the company to be bought by the dominant platform, by the Amazon, the Microsoft, the Apple. I'd like to give this a try.
Well, don't we have, just to push back on this a little bit, don't we have regulatory agencies for a reason? I mean, we put Lina Khan in charge of the agency that evaluates these mergers and acquisitions. And now we're going to write a law that says the companies that she's focused on can't acquire at all. Like, I thought we had faith in this person to actually run an agency in a competent way, which it hasn't been up until this point. It doesn't have the resources or the staffing or the ambition. Now we have Lina Khan in there, and we're going to write a law that's going to take away the agency's ability to evaluate these
That's a good point.
mergers. Do it one by one. Do it on a case-by-case basis. You never know what's going to happen if you write what I called it a dumb rocket because it's so broad that there could be a ton of collateral damage. And ultimately, it's Congress saying we want to, prevent we're going to have these companies around for a long time. We're going to have companies that meet these definitions that that Congress put forward in the paper for a long time. And so I just find it a little bit ridiculous to say they can't acquire. I mean, that's not how a market works. I thought these things are supposed to promote competition. And at the end of the day, I think this really inhibits it.
Now, Alex, I want to ask about that because my understanding was these are more soft touch. So the F.T.C. would still be doing that evaluation, right? I mean, they would be the ones who could look at a potential deal and say, no, this runs afoul of that law, or it doesn't. Or does this completely take it away from the F.T.C.? I didn't read that part.
Look, it doesn't take it away completely, but when you look at the law, the prohibition on acquisitions is so broad that it would be really difficult for these companies to make the case that they should be able to acquire. I mean, basically it says, you can't acquire something that's going to enhance your service or potentially competes with you. What's left? I mean, I really don't know. Especially look at the companies, the size that they are, and the amount of different things that they do. So honestly, we have an FTC to approve these things for a reason. So and it's just going to lead to all these downstream bad effects. And I mean, just last thing about the law, it starts not with the exceptions, but with the broad prohibition. You can't make acquisitions unless, right? As opposed to these are potentially the type of acquisitions you can't make, leaving the rest open. So it's so broad. And I don't know. Look, I think that we have a package of 5 bills, as Leo mentioned at the top. Some are going to have some really good ideas. I think some have great ideas. I think funding the regulators is extremely smart. I've been calling for it for a while in big technology. Some of the other ideas talked about are also pretty good, but you're also going to have some, pretty dumb and bad ideas. And I happen to think this is one. I welcome disagreement, but I just don't see the need to do what Congress is outlining in this one.
That's fair.
Also, the nature of this is that even if the House passes all 4, because the 5th one, if the House passes it, it's done. But
there's something in the way.
It has to not only get through the Senate, but it also has to get through reconciliation. Presumably, the Senate's going to have some other opinions about this. This is how the sausage is made. You propose something, you negotiate, and maybe you come to a better law at the end of the
I see
line.
the Senate suddenly wanting to insert language along with these bills to address the censorship item.
I think at some point, though, also Republicans have to stand up for what they've said all along, which is we believe in business and we believe in less regulation. This is not less regulation. No. This is more regulation. This is contrary to what Republicans have said for, since 1920. So
it is remarkable how Republicans and Democrats are so in sync on this. I mean, you look at these
for different reasons, yet in sync. Yeah,
I think the 2016 election turned them all against big tech. Right, the Democrats said you did Trump, and then they evolved that into you're anti-competitive, and the Republicans said you're censoring conservative voices, and they said what authority do we have to take on these companies, and they evolved that into competition. And so then you have a hearing where you have Amy Klobuchar and Josh Hawley, who would never agree with each other on anything. Yeah. Giving each other time and riffing off of each other's points.
That scares the hell out of me,
this is why,
to be honest with you.
So I say 2017, 2018, it didn't seem like anything was going to happen. But, the government works in really interesting ways. And once you get something written down on paper, which we have right now, you never know where it's going to go. And so I've given up the never going to happen perspective. Could happen.
It is unpredictable.
And you watch the way these folks talk, and even Joe Biden, who is on board with a lot of this.
Well,
stuff.
he appointed Tim Wu to his.
Appointed Tim Wu.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Biden administration is all in on regulating big tech. Yeah. Let's not forget, Europe is also all in on regulating big tech. So I could see why Jeff Bezos retired. It's not a good time.
I think the issue is both the Republicans and the Democrats agree on regulating big tech, but they don't want the other side to take a win for regulating big tech.
Nor do they really agree on the best ways to do it.
Exactly.
Why and what the best ways are.
Our politics has become so much about punishing your enemies as opposed to supporting your causes. And Leo, when you talk about the Republican support for free markets, that's all I thought about was like, they're mad enough that maybe this is where they end up going. Yeah. So Bezos, I mean, I think this past week I did a tweet talking about how, once he heard Lina Khan was going to be the F.T.C. commissioner, he said, okay, space doesn't really sound so bad. And that's why
well, you saw the petition that Jeff Bezos stay in space once he gets there. I think there's something like 30 or 40,000 signatures. I don't know how exactly he would do it, but
yeah, he's only going to be there for 3 minutes. So sorry to disappoint everyone. He's coming back.
He's coming back. So is Richard Branson. Well, if all goes well, anyway. Who's going to be the person who stands up and says, yeah, they banned Trump, but you know what? What would this pandemic have been like without big tech, making it possible for us to go to school, for many of us to stay working? This pandemic would have been a lot worse without big tech. And let's not forget the technology, mRNA, that's given us the vaccine. It's so easy to make an enemy out of tech. But I think there's also, I want to defend it a little bit because there's a consequence to this. We get a lot of benefits out of this. One of the debates we've been talking about over the last few weeks is Amazon's sidewalk, which, if it came from anybody but Amazon, people might not have been so negative about it. It is, I think, Amazon's attempt to do something for the public good, but because it came out of Amazon and because they had it on by default, I think people are going to, it's going to be a non-starter. Have you talked at all, Nicholas, about Sidewalk and with your Consumer Reports audience, and what is your recommendation to them?
We have not, or I have not written about Sidewalk, but I will want to sort of tag on to what you just said, and I sort of personally agree. I've been covering technology for 15 years now. I grew up reading like Sound and Vision magazine and things like that. All this stuff was like always fun and exciting and interesting to me. So I do understand people's concerns with, but like big tech, like I honestly didn't even recognize that that's like, oh, that's like big tobacco until like a couple months ago.
It is.
And I'm like, people really hate these companies that, they've really improved our lives. And I get the concerns, and I understand, especially with the antitrust stuff and consumers having choice in the marketplace. But, personally, I don't know. I like Amazon. I use it all the time. A lot of these companies have immeasurably improved my life. And I speak to readers all the time, and they agree. I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a big Facebook story and talking to folks like how to use Facebook, and to a person, they were like, oh, I use it to share, baby photos and to, like grandma's, funny posts. And it's like, maybe people are naive, maybe people don't see the harm, but like for the average person, which is my audience and the kind of, the headspace that I kind of live in most of the time nowadays, this stuff seems maybe not academic, but like a very different vibe, I think, to what sort of the average person feels. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, it's the world we live in where you can get people riled up. They banned the president on Facebook at the same time as they go, but I'm going to use it to say Happy Father's Day. I love it.
Exactly.
And I think people do actually love Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple. They do love it. And they use it. Tomorrow is Prime Day. Tomorrow and Tuesday are Prime Days. They're going to have huge amounts of traffic, huge amounts of people using Amazon at the same time as people saying, but I don't, which that's part of the Sidewalk argument that gets me, because the people who are turning off Sidewalk, the only way you could turn off Sidewalk is if you have Amazon Echoes in your house or Ring doorbells in your house. You're already giving Amazon images and sound and everything else, and you're worried about Sidewalk? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
I was with my parents in Las Vegas, and they live in a semi-retirement
community. It's a little schizophrenic.
It's very schizophrenic. They were with groups of friends, and they all started talking about how much they hated Amazon, and they would never buy anything from Amazon. But they've got Ring video doorbells. They do pill packs.
Pill pack.
They've got the Amazon Echoes in the house. So they don't quite understand exactly how much that maybe
that's
reaches.
Part of the problem is that big tech is so pervasive now. Right. You cannot escape it. We've seen articles years ago, even from the New York Times. Was it Kevin Roose who said, or Taylor Lorenz? Somebody said, I'm not going to use any of the big five. And she basically couldn't use anything.
That was Cash Hill.
Kashmir Hill, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Without Google, Amazon, every site is hosted by Amazon or Google. We live in big tech. We're immersed in it. It's hard to imagine surgery that's going to leave the patient alive and well.
Aren't we getting to the issue here, which is that these companies, I think many of us agree, are a net positive to society.
Yes.
And I'm going to steal this from Scott Galloway. He said this before. The key word is net, right? So there's also a ton of things that they do that are a little bit, past the line. And so I don't think, even though that they're, I appreciate all five of these companies. I'm an Amazon Prime member. I'm a Facebook, daily or weekly active user. I use the rest. But we should still not give up on the fact that some of the stuff that they're doing, is potentially anti-competitive and might need to be reined in. And if you look specifically at, I've already talked about my opposition to this prohibition of acquisitions, but if you look specifically at David Cicilline's bill, I don't like the whole thing. But the fact that it says if you're a company like Amazon or Google, you cannot take data from third parties that are using your services and then use that to enhance your services, I think that's pretty good, because what you end up having is a number of small and medium-sized businesses, whether they're software providers or whether they're merchants that are selling on Amazon, they end up losing out on potential market opportunity because they're forced to go through Amazon or a Google to reach the people that are going to end up using their products or buying their services. And they have this reality where Amazon and Google are taking their business secrets, the way that they get by nature of the fact that they have to work on their platforms, and using it to make their products great and crowd out the competitors. And I think if you want to have a true competitive market economy, you can't have that happen, because online, you really only want to have one search engine. You really only want to have one e-commerce platform, because once they become better than all the rest, why use anything else? So that's why I think we're seeing a moment where, if you take it in the good faith position, that's why I think you're seeing a moment where we're trying to rein these companies in a little bit, because their excesses are leading to the fact that others can't grow. So it's not that they're all bad. There are some people who are out there who's like, these companies can't do anything good. But we should make sure that when we think about the net, we try to decrease as much negative as possible and unlock as much good.
Cicilline's strategy, he told Axios this a few months ago, is to introduce so many bills that big tech can't fight it.
I wouldn't bet on that. They've got a lot of lawyers.
And a lot of lobbyists.
Yeah.
He said if it were one bill, it'd be easy for them to band together and fight it. Which bill is Cicilline's, Alex?
That's the first one, the one that prohibits self-dealing.
Self-dealing.
When most people talk about their objections to big tech, what they're really talking about is an objection to vertical integration, massive vertical integration, and the commoditization of data, of consumer data. We talked about that before. Before big tech was the enemy, it was data privacy. The issue hasn't really changed. We've just changed the wrapper. It's still about what those companies are doing with the data that they're receiving, especially since they tend to own everything from shelf to consumer. Alex has alluded to this. That's really tricky to regulate, because how do you get rid of those ill effects without getting rid of the things that we actually
It's brain
enjoy?
surgery, and I'm afraid the patient's not going to survive.
Yeah.
So Cicilline's is a really good example, because that's very much what the EU went against. They were fighting Google Shopping, remember,
right,
over the fact that they would self-deal, that they would promote. And it's actually very hard to demonstrate that Google's doing that. I've always, if you do a search, YouTube's right at the top there of those Google searches. And
not
Google's,
for me.
Not for you?
No, because I use Bing. I spread my online fingerprint out as much as I can.
So you're saying if you search for something on Bing, you don't see any YouTube videos?
No.
That's really interesting.
Well, not till like the second page.
That's really interesting. Google says, well, look, all search is supposed to do is give people the results they expect, they want. And it just turns out if the best result is a YouTube result, we're going to show that.
Right.
It's kind of hard to demonstrate that they're doing that in their own interest as opposed to in the interests of the users. I'd hate to see. I don't want to have to use Bing.
I like Bing.
Really?
Yeah, they got pretty pictures. No. For me, it actually does return. I do use
I like
Google
the Bing
every once in a
desktop.
while.
I do use the Bing desktop because I like the pretty pictures, but I would never use Bing for search.
For what I search for, it tends to give me higher quality returns.
You're in the minority.
I am very much in the minority.
Yeah. In fact, where you live,
We've got two.
Oh, you use Bing too?
Anthony uses Bing.
Oh, all right.
It's going to be a Bing shop.
Wow.
I think we get a sticker
I'm a
for
Google all the way.
Yeah, Google gives you the best
Google's
results. That's why when Google emerged 15 years ago, they just clobbered everybody else because people said, "Well, that's exactly the results I wanted."
I'm Alta Vista all the way, man. Hardcore.
It's a nice bumper sticker.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll watch these as they make their way through Congress. It does seem to me that the climate has very much changed, and there is this urge to regulate. And I have to say, it chills me a little bit because I do enjoy the benefits. Like you, Nicholas, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I understand we want privacy, et cetera. My fear always has been with the really hardcore privacy advocates is that they're not going to merely ensure privacy for themselves. They're going to ensure that I, who don't care, am not going to be able to buy these things that they don't want. In other words, they're going to end up ruining it for us all. So I think you should have the right to be private. I think you should have the right to, but I fear that the end result will be we'll lose a lot of things that are really interesting and valuable out of technology, including things like Amazon Echo.
to me, the shift is incredible. Like I remember when the iPhone was announced in 2007, like who cared about technology back? Like nerds did.
Yeah.
Go even further back. Like I was reminiscing earlier today. I went to JNR, which was a big
JNR, yeah,
in New York City. I was there for the first HD broadcast. I believe it was 1998. It was like a New York Jets game.
They sold
Nobody cared about tech then.
Yeah.
And it was really the 2016 election. And obviously that happened. But to me, as someone who's been monitoring this industry as a fan, since a kid and professionally for 15 years, the complete shift from like who cares about tech to public enemy number one is just incredible to me, really.
By the way, JNR is gone.
They are. Now it's B&H.
3 years.
It's all about B&H.
Yeah.
But
that was a great story, yeah.
Yeah, I love JNR. I bought a lot of stuff from JNR over the years.
There still is a division because, yes, the younger generations are now all about the tech, but I wouldn't classify most of them as geeks. They can use the tech. They don't understand how the tech works. They don't understand how to build the tech. They don't understand what goes into the tech.
Well, neither does Congress, so they're a good company.
But we need, that's a good point. We want real geeks. People who actually know what goes into the tech. What has to happen for a result to be returned on your phone?
I feel like we're looking at people and they're frothing at the mouth. Yeah. They're angry for various reasons, but I don't think that leads to a reasoned outcome.
No.
And I admit there's room for a reasoned outcome. We definitely want more privacy. Data portability is a great idea. And really when we need, these companies have gotten very powerful, but I think to some degree it's also just because they're very successful and they're too rich. Jeff Bezos is too rich. We don't like that, and then some of it's political. They have a unproven conservative bias, and that kind of thing. And I think it's so much frothing at the mouth that it's not going to lead to something. It's not going to be a scalpel. It's going to be a bludgeon. And I don't think that's a good thing in the long run. And I think all you have to do is, again, look at the pandemic. Without technology, we'd be in the Middle Ages.
And I remember I was at TechCrunch from 2007 until 2011, and I remember I wrote about privacy a lot. I was early. I read my idea of like a fun weekend was like reading Slashdot in high school. So that's like
me too, baby. Yeah,
so that's like where I'm coming from.
Right
so I was very much like writing about privacy like all the time. Nobody was reading these articles. That was not a thing that like not even the TechCrunch audience cared about. But now it is very, very salient and very important. Obviously, it's. I think people get it now more, but yeah, it is when Ted Cruz is like like a tea kettle like freaking out. I'm like, this is. I'm glad I like review laptops.
And Rupert Murdoch. I mean, this guy has been the bane of technology.
Yeah.
Look what he did in Australia. He's not acting in anybody's interest but his own. This is all about his business interests. The Wall Street Journal hates Google.
But he doesn't pretend to act in anyone's interest but his own.
Well, I know. We all know what his motivations are.
There's a mythos of
But when he comes
tech.
marching in with his money and his lobbyists and says, yeah, Congress, we ought to pass that should scare people. That's not a good thing. It's not going to lead to reasoned legislation.
The cool thing about democracy, though, is that we have the bills that have been introduced, and now we get to have a discussion about them.
I agree.
And then everything is going to come out. This isn't going to be a 5-week or a 6-week process. It's going to be a months-long, probably years-long process until we get somewhere, if we ever get somewhere.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
I'll just say one last thing. Yeah. I want to tell a quick story. So back in the day, a long time ago, I was an intern for a member of Congress who's since went to jail, Anthony Weiner. But I did get a chance to go down to D.C. for a week to see what it was like in the office. And they had members of Congress address the interns and just give like their perspective of what was going on in politics at the time. And I happened to be there for the week where Mitch McConnell spoke. And McConnell, I think he was citing a previous politician, but talked about how, tea kettle was like a good lead into this. The House is like a boiling hot cup of tea.
Oh, yeah.
And
the Senate is the saucer that cools the cup.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we just saw, is exactly. We saw all that, frothy tea come out of the House. Now we go to the process where the liquid spills out of the cup, it goes into the saucer, and then we see what we end up with. So I don't think this is going to be, I don't think we're going to end up seeing that the bills that were passed into law with the language that they were written in, because at the end of the day, I think you guys are spot on. We're talking about a very productive industry. We're talking about 5 companies that are the engine in some ways of the American economy. And I don't think ever before in history have you had a government come after a productive industry like this with a set of laws that have been introduced that would rein them in, so dramatically. So I do think eventually we're going to end up getting to a place where these laws make sense.
I think that's the history of antitrust laws, is Congress coming off against big oil and then big steel and breaking up the trusts. That's what antitrust meant. And so I guess to some degree, this is analogous to breaking up big oil. But
well, they broke up Ma Bell. They won a case against Microsoft, but those kind of went to the wayside.
The Microsoft stuff left some damage.
Yeah. It makes me very nervous, mostly because I don't think it's being lobbied. The people who are in favor of this, in many cases, are in favor for the wrong reasons. It's not really what they're talking about. And this was the question I was going to ask you, Alex, because you have a newsletter. Companies like Apple jumping on this privacy bandwagon. In fact, Google's jumping on it too, to some degree, which is kind of interesting, because it's good for business, not because they really care about people's privacy. And I think what Google and Apple, and you watch this because Facebook's going to eventually come along and realize it's good publicity to say you're pro-privacy. All 3 companies have first-party data that is second to none. So they're not sacrificing anything from their own point of view. But Apple, for instance, has introduced now in Apple Mail the ability to turn off hidden pixels for trackers, which is going to affect you, I think, in your newsletter. They also, and I feel like turning off the ID for advertisers, they didn't turn off, but surfacing that. Yeah, I think it's pandering a little bit to people, saying, knowing that people are kind of without thinking going to say, well, I don't want any advertising tracking me, without really thinking about the consequences of this. It's pandering to people who say, I want everything for free and I'm not willing in any way to support an ecosystem that pays for it. Is not really good business in the long run. It's good for Apple, but it's not good business in the long run. So it bothers me a lot that companies like Apple are making hay on this, because it's good for their business.
It's window dressing.
I think it's window dressing. I really do. Yeah. Alex, you've said that you're not too worried. I know Casey Newton quoted you in his Platformer newsletter. You're not too worried about what losing those tracking pixels is going to do to your newsletter.
Correct. And by the way, I just want to lead in by saying I agree with you 100%. Like, you notice when Apple started to use privacy as like a core part of its marketing, it's when people started to buy iPhones less often, because it used to be that you want to upgrade every year or two, or the iPhone was so much better than any Android, so you would stick with the iPhone. Then when that started to dissipate a little bit and they started to face some real competition, and they had they had a slower upgrade cycle. Now all of a sudden they're using privacy as a marketing tool to try to make sure that you stay within their ecosystem, you don't switch, and you buy new phones.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit ridiculous. Although it's their prerogative, I think. But
it's good business, but it might be a little cynical,
They should just tell us, it's 100% cynical. They should tell us what they're up to.
It's also, it's hilarious if you look at the history of it, because remember, Apple wanted a piece of that data collection pie.
iAds.
They wanted to be the cloud service. They didn't get it. They never created a solution that attracted people. And so when they realized they couldn't get it, they said, well, we could hurt everyone who is gathering data.
Right.
And they make horrible.
How many billions a year from Google on the default search? Maybe 6-8 billion.
Right.
I don't know exactly the number, but clearly they don't have that much reservations against Google. Otherwise, they wouldn't make this deal. So, but in terms of my newsletter and the pixel blocking, I'm totally okay with it. First of all, I'm not 100% sure how many people actually are opening the newsletter on Apple Mail. I mean, I don't have that data, but generally, I don't know. I have an iPhone, but I use Gmail app on my phone. So
market share, Casey quotes this, the most recent market share numbers from Litmus for May 2021, 93.5% of all email opens on phone come in Apple Mail on iPhones or iPads. On desktop,
how is that
Apple
even
Mail
possible,
is
Yeah, with an Android. I mean, Android has 75% of the market. How can 93?
Yeah, but apparently Android users don't read newsletters on their phone.
I just delete them.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
93.5% on Apple Mail on iPhones or iPads. On the desktop, Apple has 58.4%. So it's a big majority.
It's a large number. So regardless of how much it makes up, I happen to think that those numbers are off by a large margin, but that's another story. Ultimately,
they need better tracking if they're going to really get those numbers.
Come on, guys. It's funny. No tracking on Apple, but it just so happens to be that all the tracking says Apple is the leader.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a story for another time. But I will say that, like, if you are a newsletter that sends on volume, you don't really know your readers, they won't answer a user survey, then you're in trouble. If you're a newsletter that is focused on building a relationship with an audience, they'll answer user surveys, like I know your audience does, Leo.
That's what we do.
My audience.
Podcasts don't have the luxury of pixel tracking.
Oh yeah,
we can't do that.
Yeah, and I don't. I use Substack. Substack is, again, it's a subscription platform. I happen to have a free newsletter that I monetize with ads. So Substack won't deliver.
But don't your advertisers want to know how many people saw their ads? I mean, isn't that how you bill, or no?
Well, look, we do show them what the opens are.
Yeah, so you're going to lose that. You're not going to know.
Actually, so I have a few things to say about that. So first of all, I think the list size matters a lot more.
The number of subscribers,
the total number of opens. I mean, if you're not going to be like, you don't say I'm looking for a newsletter that has 6,000 opens. Maybe that should be the way.
But your advertisers like you, opens. Alex. That's the difference. And they say, well, he's got 10,000 subscribers.
They know it's a good placement.
But I tell you what, our advertisers say to me all the time is, well, how do you know they listened? Because we know how many people download, but how do you know they listened?
Right.
They want to know that.
Yeah. So here's the other thing I think is interesting. So oftentimes we'll have the majority of the views of the newsletter come via web, because the people who subscribe to the newsletters, they're the evangelists of the newsletter. They're the people who are in this tight-knit community that we have called Big Technology, right? And so they'll open every week. And then what happens is they'll share it. And it will end up on, news aggregator websites like Hacker News or Tech Meme or wherever it may be. And so oftentimes we'll have a view count that doubles or
higher.
Does more than the actual number of subscribers, because we have that dedicated of a subscriber list.
But notice, you count the number of people that open the web page. You want that information.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I don't think that it's going to be, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's going to be the end of metrics. I don't think that there are people that are coming to the newsletter because, they want to hit, a large untargeted group of people. They know they're going to end up hitting, a premium audience with Big Technology. They know they're going to end up hitting a good number of people, and that's what does it for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why our advertisers stay with us. But when we bill them on the number of impressions. I mean, that's how much. That's what the cost of an ad on most media is based on the number of people who see it. And it's rare that you'll have an advertiser that says, I don't care how many people see the ad, I just want to support you.
Right. There's also there are proxies that you can use also in terms of the way that people engage with the ad. Now we don't go out pitching Big Technology as a performance newsletter, like we don't do any CTA deals, but we definitely include like some sort of URL where we can see how many people are engaging with the advertiser.
That's direct response.
So, look, is it gonna hurt me more, or is it gonna hurt like a junk email that goes to I don't know, a couple million people whose emails they bought from some list? I think those are the people that might get slammed by this.
Yeah, but if you're collateral damage, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Well, I think it will likely drive advertisers to say, what were we doing in the first place, and what are the environments where we can get next to good context as opposed to volume, and that's where I think we'll end up. But yeah, I saw the update, and I didn't try to sell the business immediately. I think we're gonna
no, and I think you're right not to. But I think advertisers are crack addicts, and the crack they're addicted to is
they love metrics,
audience information.
Metrics,
okay, and maybe this pushes. This is sort of what I said in Casey's newsletter. I do agree that there's been an unfortunate addiction to performance metrics in the advertising industry, and it's impossible. It's important to report some of how you perform, but ultimately, advertising is best when it's done in context with a good message next to a good brand.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the stuff that actually works. And so maybe this does drive them toward doing more of that. in which case, Leo, I think your business is in even better shape, and I hope mine is too.
We're moving more toward the Consumer Reports model than we are towards the advertising-based model, because that's why we started Club Twit. I wish, when we first started Twit, Consumer Reports was my model. They don't take advertising, and they buy all the products they review. And I would have loved to have done that. It just didn't turn out to be.
You bought most of the products.
I try to buy everything, but other hosts need to get loaners. And frankly, we tried to do it without advertising, and there wasn't enough support. I'm hoping Club Twit, which is, our way of trying to monetize and offer people ad-free content, which incidentally, as a result, is tracker-free, succeeds. But I think honestly, people don't want ads, and they don't want to pay for it. They basically want everything for free, and this is in a way pandering to an audience that says, "Look, I want 100% people like you, Robert. I want 100% privacy. I'm going to fuzz everything. Nobody's going to know anything about me, and I want it all for free."
Except, see, I am also a conscious consumer of content.
You probably spend money on stuff you care about.
Stuff I care about. Also, if it's a network that I frequent, I will turn off all my fuzzing and all my blockers, because I actually want to support them.
Do you think that's universal?
I don't think so. No, I wish it was. It should be that. It should be, look, if it's a drive-by, you saw them once, that's fine. If you keep coming back to the same source, I feel like, well, I want to participate. Right. I want you to keep going. I want you to give me this content. So why wouldn't I throw a little bit of my personal information out there to keep them going?
I'm totally sympathetic to people who want their privacy, want their data kept to themselves. I completely understand that motivation. I just worry that in that world, all it's going to do is make Rupert Murdoch richer, and it's not going to support people like Alex who want to, go their own way and do their own thing and give great reporting. I spend $400 a year on the information, but there's only a handful of things I'm going to spend that kind of money for, which means the big guys are going to get richer, and I also spend money on the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Those guys are going to make more money, and they're going to be fewer and fewer of the little guys because there's no way to monetize. This is what happened with blogging. It's what's happening with podcasting. There's either the institutional podcasters or there's the hobbyists, and there's no in between. There's no middle class. And I worry that we're eliminating the middle class in all of this stuff. That either it's going to be big publications that can monetize, or people who don't care, they're just doing it for fun. And there's nothing in between. And that's what happened with blogs. It's The Verge or some guy on the corner going, "Let me tell you about my Emacs setup." There's nothing in between.
Yes, but smart marketers will always find a way to leverage these asymmetries and end up putting themselves in positions, that the rest of the market might have given up on. And I used to work in advertising for a little bit, and I can tell you that advertisers, they're smart. They know how to get the job done.
You worked at Ad Age, right?
I worked at Ad Age, and then my first job was as a in-house ad buyer for New York City's Economic Development Corporation.
Interesting. So you've been on both sides of this equation.
How long? I made actually the reverse trip. Usually people start as reporters, go into marketing. I did marketing and sales. I sold ad tech for a year and then went into reporting.
How long ago was that?
2010.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, things were a little different.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it's really gone crazy now. And
how is it going crazy?
Ad tech?
Yeah. Well, the ad tech I've definitely reported on. You should share in your own words. I think it would be good to hear you.
Well, I think it's first of all, there is a debate whether advertisers benefit from all that ad tech, whether it actually helps them reach the audience they want, whether it makes the ads more successful. And I've seen a lot of evidence that it doesn't. But
this
doesn't
is what
matter.
I've been trying to say.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree. I think you're right. But the question isn't whether we're right. The question is whether advertisers buy it, and I don't think they do. And I think that what's going to happen in my business is that Spotify is going to completely dominate, and because they have first-party info, and if with that's why they can give Joe Rogan $100 million. Is because Joe Rogan will be exclusive on Spotify, which means you'll have to listen on the app, and they will be able to tell advertisers not just when you listen and how much you listen, but who you are and what your credit card number is and where you live and all that stuff. So first first-party information, the kind of information Facebook and Google and Apple and Spotify have, is now going to be completely dominant in the industry. And I think that's very bad, at least in journalism. That's very bad because you're not going to get the diversity of voices that you used to have. So I think ad tech is the baleful influence. It ruined blogging. It's about to ruin podcasting. That's just my opinion, but I feel like that's a bad trend. And I understand where it's coming from is people's desire not to be tracked. And I use all the ad blocking, ad tracking technologies too. So I'm just as guilty as anybody.
The Brave browser, everything's blocked out.
Yeah. Firefox blocks everything.
I've got a pi hole serving my DNS, so it actually blocks out entire domains that serve out ads.
I mean, we're as good and as bad. I mean, as bad about this as anybody.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know what.
As broadcasters, you think we wouldn't do that, but most of the time I do want to block that out.
So I use NextDNS, which is basically a pi hole service, and I have it on my home router, but I have to whitelist Lisa out of it, or because she says, "No, I don't see any ads. What's going on?" I said, "No, I'm sorry."
She wants to see ads.
Yes, because she says, and you should too. We're in the ad business, Leo.
Yes, but
that's a good point.
But I don't want to.
Well, that's in a nutshell the problem here, right? The whole problem. I don't. You know what? I think, Alex, you're an optimist. You clearly feel like we'll work this out, and I think that's the right attitude because we don't have any choice. This is Cory Doctorow said this is the largest consumer boycott of all time. The consumer boycotts against online advertising, and it's working, and the companies are getting the message, and I think it's done. It's just done. And so whatever's going to happen, we'll have to work our way around it.
I still can't get out of my mind the image of someone complaining that they can't see ads.
I'll sort of make that. It's like I don't block every website. I use uBlock Origin every now and then, but I generally kind of let, because I work in the industry, even if CR is not ad supported, many of my colleagues work at ad supported websites. So I generally try to leave ad blocking off. But like the ads I get on YouTube, I watch an incredible amount of YouTube. And the ads that I get are just irrelevant nonsense. I'll say politely. Like my views are like very narrow. Like I like video game stuff. I like soccer. I like home theater equipment. Really nerdy topics.
Can you give me your zip code? And,
but like if I have to see like another commercial for like Corona, like beer or like
I
margaritas,
drink that stuff. It's terrible.
I'm never. You could pay me, and I would not buy
honestly,
that product. Like
that's
insane.
why I pay for YouTube Premium because I don't. YouTube has got so. I think honestly, what Google's doing with YouTube is intentionally inflicting intense pain on you to get you to pay for YouTube Red.
It is very painful.
It's awful.
There are no ads if you use Brave.
Well, not to keep talking about the newsletter thing, but I'll say can't block ads in a newsletter.
Yes.
All of our ads are relevant, targeted to the right people, and we don't use any tracking. So,
Leo, wait a minute. You had some technology that doesn't allow people to block ads, right? We call it Twit.
Well, here's the thing. You don't ever know we're in an ad. I could be, we could just be going along and all of a sudden I say, I love worldwide technology and NetApp. And then all of a sudden,
we're in it.
You just think it's part of the show. Worldwide Technology is a great company. This is a company you want to know about. It was the last trip we took before COVID. March of last year, we went out to St. Louis to see the Advanced Technology Center. You should go. You would love this thing, Robert. It started with one building 10 years ago. It is now, I think, the largest lab in the world, $500 million worth of equipment from all of the OEMs. So it's rack after rack. It's now, I think, at 4 or 5 buildings, a rack after rack of everything in there. And the whole idea is that WWT's engineers can learn about this stuff. They can build proofs of concept. They can test. And what's really neat, and this is why I love WWT, normally a company say, we're going to keep this to ourselves. It's our secret sauce. They've opened it up so that you can use these labs too. Their Advanced Technology Center offers hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs like NetApp's Cloud Manager, along with other labs representing the newest advances in multi-cloud architecture and security and networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics and AI, DevOps, everything that you want to know about an enterprise. And you can use it yourself. It's a lab as a service. So go to it's free. All you need to do is be a member, wwt.com/twit. Test out products and solutions. Just do what the WWT engineers do, in effect. Test out products and solutions before you go to market. It's not just hands-on labs. There's white papers there. There's demonstration videos. There's technical articles. There's expert insights. All the tools. If you want to stay up with the latest enterprise technology, this is like a graduate school in that. And you can, of course, if you get a chance to go to St. Louis, see the physical lab space, but it's completely online. And you can access these resources. You don't have to go to St. Louis, anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night. And while you're there, by the way, make sure to check out WWT's events in the communities, because there's even more going on where you can discuss technology trends, hear the latest research, get insights from experts, meet your colleagues. It's just fantastic. Whatever your business needs, Worldwide Technology can deliver scalable, tried and tested tailored solutions. You know, one of the things we saw, we were there in St. Louis, I'm looking, they have a meeting room with like all these big screens, and it's cameras all over the place. And I'm looking at what looks like kind of a factory floor, and there's a guy building a crate. I said, what's he doing? And they said, every one of our fulfillment centers has a full-time on-site carpenter, because unlike other enterprise technology companies, they don't just send you all the parts and say, yeah, you put it together. They literally set it up, integrate it, test it, get it running. Then they unplug it, build a custom case so it fits exactly what you bought, and ship it to you so it's ready to go. I mean, that's the kind of attention to detail that makes WWT really amazing. They bring strategy and execution together to make this new world of technology happen. To learn more about WWT, the Advanced Technology Center, to get access to all these great free resources, it's simple. Just create an account. Go to wwt.com/twit. Create a free account on their F.T.C platform, wwt.com/twit. And by the way, I have to say, if you're in St. Louis, I think you probably already know WWT. I'd never heard of them. Once I got there, they are beloved. You go anywhere, you say, we're here visiting WWT. They go, oh. He brought, the founder of WWT brought in speaking of soccer, Nicholas, brought in a St. Louis, what is the St. Louis soccer team? He brought them into town.
The Arches?
Yeah,
I lived in St. Louis for a year, so I feel bad that I don't know that.
I'm trying to remember the name, but he brought them in. They actually built a Worldwide Technology soccer park. They have a club there. I mean, it's really cool. It's a really neat company. They really care a lot about their community. Where were we? Oh, advertising. Doesn't it suck? No, sorry. Just kidding. Just kidding. Honest.
We're in the ad business.
I'm kidding. We're in the ad business. I'm kidding. I love it. Actually, Alex, you did something kind of amazing. I saw this on Business Insider. I thought, are they not going to let me look at it? Oh, son of a gun. Here's a subscription I haven't paid for. But
if you use, there's a way around that. I actually emailed Henry Blodgett about this, and they didn't fix it. If you use, Instapaper, the read it later.
Oh, you can do read it later. Yeah,
you could Instapaper it and the entire, or you could just right click and oftentimes the HTML. But I literally emailed Henry Blodgett, and he said, "Oh, we'll get right on it."
And they never fixed it.
No, a lot of news paper paywalls are not great.
Not such great paywalls. I'm going to Instapaper it and read it.
Purpose.
But Alex shared his pitch deck, which is really cool for the podcast and the newsletter. So I'm going to steal all your ideas, Alex. Thank you. Windows 11 comes out on Thursday. It goes to 11. We know it's going to be called Windows 11. There was some speculation earlier, but a leaked version came out. Now the question is, did Microsoft leak it on purpose? There's people who think Microsoft leaked it to lower expectations. You said you were using it.
They did. Let me just confirm that they did.
You're sure of it?
I'm absolutely sure of it. When I don't have to go through a back channel to get it,
It was pretty easy. You can't get it now, can you?
No.
They plugged the hole.
They plugged the hole. But look, here's the thing. I don't know why they'd want to lower expectations. Yes, it's not a brand new operating system, but it's pretty. It feels a little bit faster in some instances. I like the customizability. I like the fact that the widget system feels less forced than it did back in the Vista days. So it's good. It's not a revolutionary new operating system. People aren't going to be buying new computers just so they can run Windows 11, but it's not bad by any measure.
Here's the very first thing. So Panos Panay, 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. We're going to stream it. Paul and Mary Jo will join me. We'll do a live stream, and then we'll do Windows Weekly. Instead of Wednesday, we'll do it afterwards because they said we can't do Windows Weekly before the new version of Windows comes out. It'll be out of date. Is Alex muted? Are you muted?
I was,
but
I'm unmuted.
Oh, good. Whew. Sorry about that.
I can talk.
I apologize.
No, I did it on my own.
Oh, you self-muted. Okay.
It's a self-improvement practice I'm working on.
Never will I do that. Never. So the thing I know people are going to be howling about, and it's the silliest thing ever, they put the start menu in the middle. And I know that's going to get more attention than anything else Microsoft talks about. Right?
Yeah.
And you could, by the way, there's a switch. You can move it to the left.
And you know what? That took me all of 30 seconds to fix.
It looks like a Mac.
Good.
Yeah. It wasn't hard to go back to the original. And then I actually put it back in the middle because I wanted to see, well, will this mess up my experience? And it really doesn't. It took me like 10 minutes of training to go, oh, yeah, it's in the middle.
The logic makes sense. You don't have to move the mouse quite so far.
Right.
Although show of hands, how many people use the mouse and click the start menu to run a program?
I hit the Windows key.
Yeah, Windows key, first three letters, you're done.
I bet our audience does, if I had to guess, the consumer, and I mean that with all due respect. A lot of our audience are older folks who maybe Windows 95, XP, like they're trained. I remember when Windows 8 came out and it was the tiles, and everyone was like, "This is ridiculous." I think some folks like the start menu the way it works, and so we'll see. I'm kind of looking forward to Windows 11. In a manner of speaking, because it's like when I saw the leaks and the start menu was in the middle, I was like, I hope there's a way to disable that because I dislike that a great deal.
It's very
so
Mac-ish.
I'm happy to hear.
Because that's where the Mac dock is, right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Although the Macs don't have a start menu, so.
Nicholas actually just brought up a good point. I know who will like this. My parents.
Will like it or not like it?
No, they will like it because they use the touch screen and they love touching things and having it blow up on the screen and then pushing the icon that they want. So, okay, there's an audience here.
Okay.
Sure.
Nobody who listens to this show is that person, obviously. So
we've got a few.
Can we talk?
We've got some octogenarians.
There's somebody in the chat room who says I use a mouse. Okay, that's your choice. But can we talk? I mean,
it's keyboard.
I had a woman call me yesterday. I felt so bad for her. In fact, I didn't really answer her question because AT&T has started requiring. This is the kind of thing you're going to hear about, Nicholas, like crazy. Has started requiring that you use an app-specific password to use AT&T Mail. So she says, I kept getting this pop-up saying your mail settings need to be adjusted, and I kept saying fix it, and it never fixed it. And so eventually I just said, forget it, and now my mail doesn't work. And I said, well, do you use a browser for your mail? She says, I don't know. There's an icon on the thing, and I clicked that. And I said, okay, you're using an app, I think. Who knows what she's got. So I said, did somebody set this up for you? She said, yes. I said, well, here's what AT&T wants you to do. You have to set up an application-specific password at AT&T's website to continue to use your ISP's email.
No, come on.
I'm talking to this woman. She doesn't know if she's using a browser or a mail client, and I have to explain how to set up an app-specific password. I don't even know if I can get her into the settings. So this is why I wonder, why do these people use computers? Your life must be so hard. I just feel so sorry for these people.
That's why some people still use their AOL addresses.
Oh, I get that person all the time.
Well, I mean,
I just feel so sorry for them.
Yeah.
What do you? I mean, again, that's my audience, and those are the people I write for.
Right. I love them. They're real people.
these are real people who don't care about the shiny windows. No. They're trying to find pictures of their grandkids.
Yes.
They're trying to pay their bills. They're trying to live their lives. They're not trying to like admire the translucent windows on Windows 11 or whatever, or the arrow effects or whatever they used to call it. They're like that. There's fundamentally like not. They don't care.
It's now fluid. It's called fluid design.
Great. Perfect. That's a great name. But like for most people, it's like, what is that even? Like they're like an application specific password. Like I cannot imagine trying to explain on the radio. That seems like
on the radio. I gave up.
That seems very difficult. But that's when Windows 11, when the leaks were happening, and the big leak was last week, which I haven't tried yet. To be fair,
no, I haven't. Either.
I will when they officially release it.
I let Robert and Paul do
It'll
that.
be great. But like the changes were, first off, they just seems like cosmetic changes. Like, oh, we'll move the thing to the middle.
Totally cosmetic.
Within 3 days. Within 3 days,
like,
Paul
why
Thurrott.
Is that? Why do they even need a press conference for that? Maybe it'll be a pre-taped thing.
I was wondering this too, because I, like probably everybody who's listening, said, "Oh, I know. Finally, Microsoft's going to start over, redesign Windows, make it robust, reliable, secure." MIT technology. No, actually, it was Steve Gibson, our security guy, said there's one reason for the ransomware crisis. One reason alone: Windows. It's so freaking insecure. Now, I'm not sure, I think there's other reasons, but I understand his point. I thought, here's an opportunity. That's the only reason you should update Windows 10 is because you're going to start over. They're not starting over. They're not changing anything except how it looks. And so I'm asking Paul and Mary Jo, our Windows hosts, why then do this? And they came up with the only cogent reason I could think of. Last year, the PC industry had a banner year because everybody had to go out and buy a computer for the kid who's got to do Zoom classes. And now I'm working at home, so I need a better computer. So the computer sales were the best they'd been in a decade. This year, of course, it's going to tank, right? Because everybody bought a computer. It's going to die. The PC industry is going to be dead.
Also because no one can get components.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even get one if you wanted one. So what Microsoft, Paul and Mary Jo's think that the reason Microsoft's doing Windows 11 is because historically that's what sells computers. In the Windows world, people don't buy the next version of Windows. They buy a new computer to run the next version of Windows, and they continue to use that version of Windows until they buy another computer. So Microsoft's basically artificially supporting the PC industry because there's no way anybody's going to buy a new computer unless there's some reason to, and this reason is going to be Windows 11.
It's Windows Spinal Tap. It's the same thing, but it goes to 11.
Yeah.
That sounds like if they were to say that out loud, like I imagine a lot of folks in my position would be like, yeah, that's fine. That seems fair. We want to keep things going. Don't necessarily tell me that it's because of these great innovations that because the default is is light mode and we moved it to the center. It's like, I don't know, that feels it's like changing a window manager and it's like, I don't know, this feels whatever, but
well, you know,
doesn't feel substantial, especially when Microsoft said when Windows 10 was announced, I was like, oh, Windows 10, Windows is a service now. There'll be incremental upgrades. This is the last version of Windows. Maybe we'll just forget that was said, which is again fine. I don't.
Because it's Panos Panay. He's going to come out on the stage and say, we have created a new way for you to think, to create, to live. We have taken...
Wow.
He's going to have some florid description of this that's going to be, oh, my God, this is changing the world. And all it is you got rounded corners.
We found that the only thing missing from Windows was rounded corners.
Which is fine, and that's great. That doesn't bother me. But if he's gonna explain it in like this florid language, like it is,
well, that's what he does.
Whatever. I don't know.
That's his thing.
This could spark an entirely new industry. Everyone's going to want to upgrade their monitors for rounded corners.
Anthony, do you have my audio? Let me see if you do here, because I want to play.
Oh no!
The most. What are you laughing at? What is the most important change from Tom Warren? The new. Windows 10 startup sound. I hope it comes out of the right hole. Oh my God! I got to have it.
The first time I booted up, I didn't even notice it. I did not notice that until I read the Verge article. I said, oh, yeah, it is different.
So you've heard it.
I have heard it.
That's it.
I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but that's why people like Apple. I mean, for all the bad things that I'm pretty, critical of that company, but these shenanigans just don't happen in the Apple ecosystem.
The wallpaper is very pretty. Apple always does new wallpaper. The new Windows 11 wallpaper is gorgeous.
It is nice. No, the color scheme is very nice. I mean, it is a lot of eye candy. I would like to dive down below to see anything that they changed.
As far as I can tell,
and I don't think they have.
They haven't. They don't want to. No. This is the problem that Microsoft has: is they can't break all the existing software, so they can't change anything. When they changed the device model in what was that, Windows? I want to say Windows 7. All hell broke loose for years. Hardware didn't work when the device driver model was changed. You can't screw with that. So make a new startup sound and then leave. Not good work. Okay, we're done.
I mean, well that is a hard a hard thing to figure out. A difficult challenge to surmount. Like, how do you? We can't redesign Windows. We have, infinity billion users of this thing.
Yeah.
How do we improve it? I mean, if you ask me, Windows 10 is like pretty good. Like I don't want any, like, exactly.
No,
it's fine.
It's fine.
And I use that word to my editors all the time. And they're always, the word fine now internally Consumer Reports means like amazing, because it's like, oh, Nicholas has called it fine. It's like, that means it is
not
It's
amazing.
functional. It works. It does the job, and everyone
I wish it were secure. That would be nice.
Changes would be
so that's what I'd like to see Microsoft really working. I'm sure they're working as hard as they can, but it's just
of course that
it's plugging a leaky boat with chewing gum.
Well, I mean, anything that has as much adoption as Windows is never going to be completely secure, even if it's up to date on patches.
I guess that's true.
Just because the way that most people use Windows is insecure.
Humans are the problem.
Humans mess everything up.
Yeah, you humans are ruining it for all of us. Oh, all right. I'm excited. It's always nice to see a new, refreshed look. That's fun.
It is cool. It is exciting. It's something. Yeah. It's like, oh, right, Thursday, I got a cool thing to look forward to. Windows 11. Yeah, we're kind of teasing. Oh, it looks a little different. But this is like, this type of stuff does actually excite. If I were like, I don't know, like a dentist or whatever, I would probably be watching the Windows 11 live stream, because I'm like, ooh, let's see what they announced. It's just fun.
That's actually what I'm saying is
the substance here.
Those people are going to be disappointed because it isn't substantially.
We're poo-pooing it, but there is a huge audience for things that are pretty.
Yeah. Well,
and if it's the same thing and it looks prettier, they'll use it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. And will they buy? Here's the question: will they go out and buy a PC? Can they even buy a PC?
They will not. No, not after the market. Not after the.
So will Microsoft? So here's my question: will Microsoft charge for this new version of Windows?
No, but they will probably charge for the hooks. So they've put some hooks into Windows 11 to make it easier for them to platform. And you already know about Xbox, but I think they want to push a bit more. I think Microsoft actually wants to get a little bit of a bit more of the net services pie, and Windows 11 makes it easier for them to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So think of 11 as more of a portal than 10 was.
Yeah.
There's money there.
That sounds good for Microsoft, but not for my readers necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it might be. I don't know.
Am I biased when I say that Windows is kind of the epitome of mediocrity? It's fine,
but in this instance, mediocrity is not bad. Mediocrity also means everyone knows how to use it.
Yeah,
everyone can use it. Everyone
I just feel sorry for that poor old woman who is trying to figure out what an application-specific password is. Her problem is not Windows, is AT&T, but then I just try to push people towards Chromebooks and iPads, honestly. Is that the right thing to do, you think? What about you, Nicholas? Do you talk?
We have seen a huge explosion in interest in Chromebooks over the past year, obviously with the pandemic and folks working from home. I think a Chromebook is a good idea for a lot of folks. An iPad as well. My uncle, who recently retired from a career in law enforcement, he's kind of a caveman, and I mean that with all due respect. The iPad is great for him because he just clicks Safari and he browses his like boxing websites and he turns it off. He doesn't need a Windows PC. No. He doesn't need a MacBook Pro. He's very, very simple. Simple is good. Simple is hard too. To make something simple and make something good, that's obviously tricky to pull off. But yeah, I think a Chromebook, a lot of our readers have definitely warm to the Chromebook. At least, people reaching out and asking me, people reading articles about Chromebooks, producing Chromebook articles. There's a lot of interest in Chromebooks, it feels.
I feel like if you're a nerd, if you're an enthusiast, you should be using Linux. I mean, honestly, you should get the same hardware, put Linux on it. If you're
still on Ubuntu.
I like Linux. Linux is good. Linux is reliable. It's solid. Maybe because it's a small target, it's not as insecure. Probably because it's a small target. I'm sure it would be if just as insecure as Windows if it were as dominant as Windows.
I gave my parents Macs. They didn't like them.
I don't think Macs are any better.
And then I gave them Chromebooks, and they didn't like them.
They didn't like
them. They went back to the Windows.
They wanted
boxes.
Windows.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could say, get a Mac because it's the computer for the rest of us. It's easy to use, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's that much difference.
I hate whenever I'm complaining about something with Windows, and at least 5 of the top 6 comments will be
get a Mac.
To get a Mac. That doesn't help.
It's the same problem.
It doesn't help.
It's a similar problem. I mean, I like, it's a lot to like about it, but I think it's a similar problem. Remember at about this time last year, both Apple and Google announced, hey, we're going to create an API, privacy-forward API for contact tracing. It's going to solve the pandemic. Everybody's going to have it on their phone. Every state's going to come out with an app. And bingo, badunga bungo, COVID-19 will disappear. They weren't, to be fair, the only people who thought COVID-19 will disappear. MIT Media Lab has now come out with a report that says the contact tracing apps not only didn't take off, hardly anybody made one, and they didn't do anything. It was a perfect example of Silicon Valley hubris. Like, oh, we're smart. We can figure this. We'll figure. Hey, hold my beer, and nothing. Make sense? Agree? Disagree?
I mean, the problem with a contract tracing app is it can tell you if you have come into close contact with someone who was infected. It did nothing to change what you will do with that information. And we've learned that's not an easy thing.
I turned it on right away. In a year, I have had 0 contacts. I mean, nothing.
The only time I've had contacts was in the Vatican.
Oh, really? Your phone went off, said you've been near somebody with COVID?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like right
That's
in
probably
front of St.
because
Peter's.
so many people had it.
Yeah.
Well, here's why I think that this stuff didn't work. It was because of the asymptomatic nature in the beginning of the disease. So if you're not going to test positive right away and you're not going to have any symptoms. So once that happens, the whole idea of contact tracing is kind of off the table, because think about how many people you're going to come in contact with every day when you have no idea. So you have 5 days in your life. You don't know you have COVID. You test positive for COVID. How many contacts? If you're a somewhat busy person, it could be dozens, or maybe even above 100 people that you've come in contact with. Let's say you went grocery shopping, right? So now are all those people going to have to quarantine? Like it just became a point because of the nature of this disease that if you are going to actually put contact tracing into place, you might as well just shut down, all society for a couple of weeks and then resume after that. Yeah, because it just never got to the place where we're going to do that. So if you're going to
in totalitarian countries like China, it worked because they were willing to weld the door shut and say nobody's leaving.
In most Western countries, the people who would benefit from a contact tracing app were already not putting themselves into a position where they would need a contact tracing app.
Yeah, we were staying home anyway.
We were staying home anyway, so what was the use?
And then it doesn't get picked up on the test. So you do contact tracing. Okay, you got notified you had a contact, then you get tested. So if this contact tracing actually worked according to plan, you get a ping every couple of weeks probably.
Right.
Then you go and get tested. You have no idea if you have the disease. It just wasn't something that lent itself to contact tracing. It really was going to be either one of 2 options, well, maybe 3 options. One is the totalitarian option, which we saw in China. 2 is everybody in the population wears masks. 3 is you kind of hold your breath and wait till the vaccine. And so there have been different countries that have gone about it different ways. Obviously, the U.S. plan, the most likely thing we were always going to do is wait for the technology to bail us out, and it did.
MIT Technology Review does say there might, down the road, this might have some value, but we should learn some lessons from this. And the chief lesson was the public didn't trust it. So people were, this is another case where people were so worried about privacy. Google and Apple designed a lot of privacy into this, so much so that public health officials said, well, it's not going to be any good for us because we can't find out who's exposed. 25 states rolled out apps. They surveyed all the states, 25 states and D.C. Virginia was the first to make it available to its residents in August, which was kind of late. Others are only getting started now. Massachusetts began testing its app in April of this year, so a little late. By the way, the Massachusetts app is kind of interesting because there's been a lot of anecdotal reports that Google is installing it automatically on people's phones. Did you see that?
Oh, I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, sorry, I couldn't say it with a straight face. I tried.
Well, guys, we'll get to the bottom of it at some point. Maybe they turned on. See, I did that on my iPhone. I turned it on and it said whenever California comes up with one.
No,
it shouldn't be installed automatically on your phone.
My device, my rules.
Yeah.
Well, we are so furiously independent here. So, even if this stuff worked to perfection, we're going to voluntarily quarantine. That didn't seem like it was really going to happen in this country.
No, that's true. All right. So, well, it's good though. You should do a postmortem after this stuff and see did this work?
The technology is interesting. What they did to anonymize the data was actually interesting and encouraging. But I think we're right here in that this kind of disease just wasn't good for contact tracing because there is such a long incubation period. It's not effective because all that it takes is one person who says, "Oh, the contact tracing app told me that I was exposed and I wasn't," and suddenly no one trusts.
Yeah. Well, there is one bright light. We actually made a vaccine faster than ever before, and there's a technology that has some real promise.
Well, we did and we
didn't.
mRNA. Because this vaccine was being developed before COVID.
Right.
I mean, it's 20 years in the making before we got to 2020.
But we've got this idea that we can, using mRNA, we can, over a couple of days, genetically sequence a disease, and a couple of days later, using computer technology, create a potential vaccine for it. Of course, we still have to test it on humans and things like that. We just eliminate that part. And then, and I have a feeling with variants and boosters and so forth, we may actually be doing this again and again. And
this is not going away.
And now companies are talking about using it for other illnesses, including HIV. That mRNA may be a kind of a golden tool. So there's some, there's things we learned. New York State has passed a right to repair bill in the Assembly. Oh no, I'm sorry, in the Senate of New York State, but it still has to pass the Assembly. It's the first legislative. This surprises me because I know many states were considering right to repair acts. It's the first legislative body in the U.S. to pass a right to repair bill. Still, though, there's a gulf between that and it actually becoming the law of the land or the law of the state.
This makes sense in New York because when you're talking about right to repair, you're most often talking about
phones.
Small items, phones, computers, maybe even cars. I want to see this tested in like the Midwest where people would be saying you have a right to repair your tractor.
It's about John Deere.
Yeah.
The two companies that have been fighting this most viciously are Apple and John Deere. You're right. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if this passes. In fact, it may not even pass through the Senate.
I think it's just a calendar thing. I think the legislative session ends this week.
Right.
But there's a lot of momentum behind this idea. And I've covered right to repair. I was at Motherboard for a couple years ago. We cover right to repair here at Consumer Reports. It's not a primary issue that we care about, but it's it's the idea of ownership. And this is my thing. I remember once when I was reporting on a right to repair story, I was on the phone with apparently there's a lobbying group for like small appliances like toasters and things like that. And I basically told them, I was like, look, if I buy a toaster and I smash it with a sledgehammer, why is it anyone's business but mine? And the people on the other end of the phone thought I was a crazy person.
Why would you ever do that?
But like the point is I bought this and it's mine.
It's mine. I can do anything I want. If I want to turn it into a hover car, I should be able to do that.
Yes, and there is like, to me, it is a real like fundamental thing. It's like I bought this thing, it is mine. If I want to use it as you've designed it, great. If I want to physically destroy it for a fun YouTube video, that's my business. Your relationship with this product ended when I purchased it. I don't want you to have any say-so over what I do with it. And a lot of companies just have a real, because it's bad brand. Oh, if something happens to it, it gets weird branding thing.
It's that, but Apple's position is also you could make it, if you got somebody, third party, to repair the screen, and the screen is intimately connected with the fingerprint reader, you could that person could inadvertently make your device insecure. You wouldn't know that. And so we want to make sure, which actually would argue that they give people training and manuals and parts.
Right. Sure.
Not just say, don't do it. You got to do it at the Apple store.
It's almost as if Apple's exploiting the privacy angle in order to sell more devices.
They wouldn't do that. I haven't seen dozens of commercials that were doing specifically that over the last week.
Okay, good. Glad you haven't seen those.
No, but okay, so on the downside, I think on this panel, I think we're all pretty much on the right to repair side, yes? I mean, it's our devices, we've bought them, we've paid for them, we should be able to tinker with them.
Yes.
The downside side would be there are certain devices that interact with other devices that we don't own.
Perhaps.
And in those instances, maybe the right to repair must be interpreted a bit more narrowly.
That was Apple's argument against jailbreaking. Allowing jailbreaking is if you jailbreak your phone, it doesn't just impact you, it impacts the network.
Right. But like a right to repair a car, a Tesla that has auto drive features that you could really screw up.
Might be a problem.
That might be a problem. Medical devices that are connected to a network, that might also be a problem. So, yes, I am gung-ho on right to repair. I think we should err on the side of right to repair, but I think you need to identify those instances where, no, this is not just your device. You didn't just buy it. It's connected to a larger ecosystem that you could mess up, and therefore there need to be restrictions.
Yeah.
I agree to a point, but I could take my car to any mechanic on Main Street in New York State and he could fix it. I don't need Toyota or Honda's permission.
Right.
If I want to get my iPhone fixed, I theoretically need Apple's permission, which is great if I live near an Apple authorized repair center. But if I don't, that's not good.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you've got the right to repair your car in that you could change the tire. You could do that poorly and endanger everyone on the freeway, but we don't say people aren't allowed to change their own tire. So I think there's no clear barrier here, but that you have to keep that in mind. I think because so many of our devices are interconnected, we at least need to consider what are the ramifications of allowing people to do anything they want with a device that then interacts with other people.
F.T.C. came out with a report in May of this year in which they said that making repairs harder actually makes independent repair less safe. They also didn't buy the arguments that independent repair threatens customer security or opens manufacturers up to liability, having found no evidence of either. And they also noted that repair restrictions that limit the business of independent repair shops cause harm to local economies and disproportionately hurt the poor and minorities. So I think it's pretty clear that although Apple tries and John Deere tries to dress it in some other clothing, it really is just, hey, it's our money and we want it. We're gonna. And honestly, you say you can repair your Toyota, but good luck if you have trouble with the ignition system. Or nowadays you need a computer, and only dealers have those computers. And I think that's perhaps a symptom of the complexity of the world we live in and the devices we use.
I love tinkering with an old vehicle.
Old cars is different.
That has
have a shade
not a computer chip in it.
I used to tune up my Volkswagen.
Yeah.
All you need is a voltmeter and a wrench and
I thought I would love the computer age where I could just plug it in and reprogram it with my computer, but it's not nearly as satisfying.
No. But honestly, that's every car these days. You can't. They're hideously complex.
Well, when you had the Tesla, Lisa was complaining that it crashed every once in a while. Not like physical
never actually crashed.
The computer just froze up.
Oh, every once in a while. Yeah, there's a 3-button salute actually for the Tesla. There's a reset.
I don't like that.
Well, it's not the actual drivetrain. It's just the telematics,
the entertainment
and
system.
All that stuff,
but aren't those all tied together?
I think so. That's I don't know. She wouldn't let me get another Tesla. Everybody who owns a Tesla loves their Tesla
until they get rid of it.
And then, but I was just nervous about buying another one. I thought
I kind of want to get one of those new Ford F-150s, the all electric.
Oh, I really want one of those. I have you saw it out here.
I'd plug it in
Mustang,
my house.
the electric Mustang. I love it.
power my house for 3 days during an emergency.
Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do that with a Tesla too, by the way.
But the battery pack in an F-150 is way bigger.
Oh, it's a lot
Way,
heftier.
way bigger.
Yep.
Are you into the Tesla Cybertruck? Is that your next move after this F-150?
No.
The battle truck.
You know what that
The Mad
you know
Max
what that looks
battle
like?
truck?
Do you remember there used to be an arcade game called Battlezone?
Yeah,
with
loved
vector
Battlezone.
graphics.
It looked just like a Battlezone
The Tesla
truck.
Cybertruck looks
Yeah.
exactly like it should be in that game.
No, you're right. I love that game. Sam Abul-Samad, who's our car guy, says it's highly unlikely the Cybertruck will ship in that format. It's not going to be the battle truck.
I just want to go to Tesla
Ooh,
dealerships
it
and
is
throw
cool.
ball bearings
It's
at
cool.
the windows.
It's
I
cool. Look
like
at those. What are those hexagonal tires?
It does look like it should
I
be in
think
Tron.
it's a beautiful. I think it's a beautiful
Really?
car.
Do you think that's beautiful?
Absolutely. Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
my kind of car.
It's got.
I would get it.
You know what? It kind of looks like a DeLorean. It's got that angular type thing going on.
Well, it's also the brushed metal. That's why. It's
Yeah.
not,
Oh,
it
it's
doesn't have
so
a paint job.
sweet.
It's
Look at that thing.
I don't know.
I would drive it just because of the looks.
I mean, I'll
you'd
get the Hot Wheels.
People would be terrified. They'd think the tax squad was going to pile out of it.
That's true. It does look like it is sort of a mercenary
It's very
carrier and
militaristic.
some
Yeah, I bet
sci-fi
it's
music.
very
Oh,
low
man.
observability from radar.
Dang,
with all
look at
those
that.
faceted surfaces.
You like
Tent in
the
the
tent?
back.
You like the tent?
When
when they announced it, they had a little little Cybertruck, mini vehicle drive out of the back. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be the jerk in the campsite, but you'll feel really good about yourself.
Nobody will mess with you. Even those bears are going to want to stay away from that guy. He
gonna-
looks like
You
he's
will look
armed.
good as the most hated person at Burning Man. Driving up in one of those.
Oh, if you drove that at Burning Man, you'd be a star. No, people would love you. Are you kidding?
That's exactly the crowd.
All right, that's the crowd right there. Hey, let's take a little break. Great panel. It's so fun to have Alex Kantrowitz on, bigtech.substack.com. He also does a Big Tech podcast. That's why he's got the big, fancy microphone.
That's right.
Great to have you, Alex.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
It's called Big Technology Podcast, by the way. Just if
you're searching for it. Big Technology Podcast. Nice. Easy
Thank
to
you.
find.
Thanks for the shout out.
Not Big
Yep.
Tech. Is that throwing it if I say Big Tech?
There is a Big Tech podcast. They're our mortal enemy. So we have all of our listeners go to Big Tech Podcast, give them 1-star reviews. No, I'm kidding.
Big
Technology
technology,
You know,
not big.
I could take care of that for you.
Yeah, let's see.
We have a special
conversation
division in
after
the
this.
Vatican.
Oh my God.
Good.
Actually,
Exactly the guy I'm hoping to meet.
Father Robert Balassier, the digital Jesuit, on leave just temporarily from the Vatican to join us in studio. It's really good to have you.
It's nice to be
He is also running the Vatican's own Minecraft server.
Still going strong.
And now you have Factorio.
Factorio and TF2 and Valheim.
I've got to come by and play the
You need to
Valheim.
show me how to play that game. I tried playing it for 5 minutes and I just kept dying.
Yeah, that's part of the fun.
Oh, no, it's not.
I did a stream the other night because I'm a Twitch streamer.
Of course.
And twitch.tv/clubtwit. And I was going to take on a boss, the fourth boss, who turns out to be tough. I was a little sanguine. I told Lisa, it was 6 weeks, just had dinner. She said, I want to go for a walk. I said, give me an hour. I'll be back in an hour.
And the sun was coming up.
I'm going to beat Motor and we can go for a walk. She's sitting there. She says, I don't think we're going for a walk. It's about 11:30 at night. I died, and it was kind of humiliating because I'm on the stream.
Yeah.
It's every
terrible.
5 seconds, like clockwork. I must have died 20 or 30 times.
I don't normally care about dying in video games, but there's something about Valheim that it hurts.
It's actually the least disturbing because you don't lose anything except skill points.
But it's annoying.
It's just annoying.
And
you have to go
embarrassing.
back home and then run naked back to your body and recover all your stuff and
well, you have to do
hope
that
you
in
don't get
Rust,
killed
yeah.
again anyway. And what's your favorite of those that you play on? Is it Factorio? It was Factorio. The last time we talked.
So Oxygen not included. I still play Rust. Rust is
Rust
fun.
is cool too.
Right,
yeah.
I do enjoy that. Actually, Rust has a Valheim feel. It's very survivalist.
Yeah.
But no, for just a fun game to have running in the background, it's Oxygen not included.
How many hours in are you on?
A couple.
3,000, I think you said.
It's 2094. That's a lot of hours. Yeah, right. That's too many hours.
Do you get Bitcoin or something? I mean, what's the deal?
I wish. I probably could have mined some Bitcoin with all those
If
cycles.
people want to get into the servers, how do they do that?
The easiest way is just to go to, if you go to my Twitter feed at twitter.com/PadreSJ, there's instructions to get on our Discord. So all of our gaming servers are tied to our Discord server. So once you join there, and I think we've got 9,000 members right now, you will automatically be able to enter into the gaming servers.
Wow, I thought I was in your Discord server, and I see I must have exited.
Well, I'll have
no,
to.
I'm in. I got in. I just, I must have, I have so many servers now.
Yeah, I know.
That, so I will.
I'll post the link again on my
I'll go
Twitter
back
feed.
in.
Yeah.
No, I have a membership, so I should just be able to click a link, right? And
Oh,
go
absolutely.
Back in, yeah. I will do that. It's also great to have you, Nicholas De Leon, who is, of course, the senior reporter at Consumer Reports, writes about technology. There, does a great job. You have a very fancy chair. What is that chair you're sitting in?
Secret Lab. It is the semi-official chair of all PC gaming nerds out there, including myself. It's very good. It's very fancy. I was working from home all last year, so I was like, I kind of need a comfortable chair. So that's them. But, yes, that's them.
Do you
I feel
have
like they
the
always
Tau
have
or the Omega?
I have the Omega. Although if folks are asking, I would recommend the Titan because it is a little bit more robust. The lumbar adjustment. This kind of just has a pillow, which I didn't realize when I purchased it, but it works just fine. But yeah, they're big fun gaming chairs for the gamer in your life. Sounds like you guys play games. So
yeah, I might need a special chair. I'm just sitting in an office chair
next.
right now. That's ridiculous. Actually, we bought
it
Michael.
makes
He
you
wanted
better.
he had a like a Razer gaming chair, and it really was crappy. So I just got him the Corsair. But now that I know about this, I might regret it. And by the way, note, they recommend with the sizes, they include not just height, but weight. So you buy the chair by the amount of weight that you're going to put in there. And if you're up to 390 pounds, you're going to want that Titan XL. That's the chair for the serious gamer. I don't know how we got to do a Secret Lab ad, but
the gaming chair that I use in Rome is about 400 years old.
A throne.
It was the only chair that I could find to move up to my little studio, and
does it look fancy at least?
It looks old. I don't have any gauge for that.
Is it made of wood?
It's definitely wood. It's
Is
definitely.
there padding of any kind?
When I put the pillow on top of it. But we don't do swivel chairs or gaming chairs. It's if you don't ache from
That's
the back,
right. Not
then-
enough suffering.
Yes, there's not enough suffering. Why are you doing it?
Yeah. Wow, that's hysterical.
It's the
So you
Catholic way.
can't swivel or anything?
You can, but you carve gouges in the floor. So, also
The Holy Father is still looking for that chair, by the way. I don't know
the
if he
chairs
should
from
have
that
taken it out
era
of his
were not
study.
designed for people of my weight. I may have had to reinforce that.
Oh, no.
But thankfully, I have a 3D printer, so I could make little hinges.
I think you should have used iron and leather.
It probably wouldn't have helped.
Would have looked good. Great to have all three of you. Thank you for joining us. And Nicholas, you have a podcast you want to plug or anything like that?
Well, I mean, Consumer Reports, I would just say, consumerreports.org, subscribe.
Why aren't you a subscriber is the question. Everybody should subscribe.
It's funny. There was a lot of stories going around with like fake reviews on Amazon over the past week or so. And I was kind of semi-joking. You know what place doesn't have a problem with fake reviews? Because we buy everything. We test everything ourselves. Reading some of the reviews on Amazon, it's like I don't know that I would rely on some of that stuff anymore. It's just every product is amazing, 5 stars. I'm like, that's a little suspicious. Everything's awesome. Just search Consumer Reports. It's it's a nice place.
I've been a member.
Very proud to be there. Yeah,
I think for 20, maybe 30 years. I'm always. I think it's the greatest thing. I mean, I used to get the magazine in the mail. I now just do the online thing. But
yeah, my parents got it when I was a kid, and it had the little red dots. And obviously, when I'm 10, I don't think that I'd work for that place one day. But yeah, we've been around for almost 100 years, nonprofit. We buy everything ourselves, so that the manufacturers don't send us like a juiced unit or whatever to juice the numbers.
That's the right way to do it. You go to the actual store. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really special place, and I'm really proud to be there.
For the Zoomers in our audience, Consumer Reports, it's like Yelp and Google all wrapped up in one, but it gets delivered to you.
It's the original.
We've got a TikTok account.
Do you really? Oh, I want to follow that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't, but Consumer Reports does.
I told my wife once that I bought my shampoo based on the Consumer Report recommendation. She said, "Why would you follow their recommendations? Those guys wash their hair with soap." And I said, "Yeah, you're probably right." But
one little story. A few weeks back, I was in a meeting, and there were some people there who were saying, "Well, we're on social. How come we're not on TikTok? We should be on TikTok." I said, "Really?" And so I started showing typical TikTok videos. And after about 5 minutes, they said, "No, we don't need to be on TikTok." It's a generational thing, I think.
It is generational.
There's many different TikToks. It's all about what the algorithm
There's
wants to show you.
inspiration stuff.
Precisely.
You know,
Some of it's great.
Have you seen my son's TikTok? Salt Hank. Look at this. He's going to make avocado toast.
Nice.
That you have never had.
He's got a really popular account.
Oh yeah, he's very popular.
That's awesome.
He's going places. This kid. I think this is
These are
actually
great.
his career goal.
Leo, this is far better than doing jousting with hoverboards.
He's gone well beyond that. Watch this. Oh,
These are great.
That's actually well
a technique.
done.
Yeah. I said, how come you don't ever make this at home? That looks
Okay,
good.
so if I did this for the Vatican, it would just be really poorly made eggs.
Hard eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's quite a cook. I think his
I had
most.
to delete
Go ahead.
TikTok.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I did
but go
too.
ahead.
Because it's too addictive. They even have a
don't
guy
miss it
who
at
comes
all.
on after you are on it for more than an hour who says, get some water, take a break.
I just used the YouTube TikTok,
Been there.
which is actually just TikTok videos that someone has uploaded to YouTube.
That's probably good
You can
enough.
actually see the TikTok logo.
That's probably good.
Oh, that's better. But yeah, there've been times where I just just fall into these TikTok holes. And next
Exactly.
thing I know, it's a couple hours later. And I was like,
that's
this
why I
is
took it
not
off the
healthy.
phone. It's not
It
healthy.
was fine when I couldn't leave the apartment.
Right.
Now I can leave. TikTok went. I don't miss it.
Actually, maybe that's what it is these were COVID habits that we can now.
They're coping. They help you
They were
cope.
helping us cope because we couldn't do anything else.
And now we're getting back to work,
Oh, God.
which I don't.
Give me TikTok.
The sad thing is my work is pretty much the same as I was during the pandemic. I'm still living in a huge house in the middle of a city that I never leave because everything's in the house.
You're not giving the last rites as often as you used to. Oh,
No,
that's a terrible joke. I'm
it's
sorry.
true, though. It's very true.
Did you have to? Were there a lot
lost-
of deaths?
We lost a lot.
Oh, I'm
We
so
lost a
sorry.
lot.
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't joke about that.
By the last count, I think it's about 400 Jesuits.
From your house
No,
alone?
from around the world.
Oh, around the world.
In my house, we lost 3.
Yeah, that's sad. That's really sad.
But I mean, it's
600,000 in the U.S. We broke that number. It's terrible. All right, but we're getting there. We're getting better. We got people in the studio. We I say we survived it. We made it.
Well,
We
up
made it.
to now, I mean, it's not
over.
The Delta variant, it got into Rome right before I left, and it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's one of the, we actually lost one guy to it, and he was fine in the morning, and he was dead by evening.
Oh my God!
And he was what 47.
Are you
years
sure
old.
did you have a test? Are you?
I have tested, and I remember I had to be tested before I got on the plane. I tested
sit
at the
over
airport,
next to you now,
tested in
Nicholas.
Atlanta, and then tested when I landed.
Alex, I'd move if I were you. Our show
I'm glad
today.
I decided to appear digitally today.
Yes, that's probably good thinking. Our show today brought to you by Udacity. I love Udacity. I joined in 2012, taken many courses there. The thing that blew me away back in 2012, it was started by a Googler who realized that, honestly, people weren't getting the education they needed to get those great jobs at the big tech companies. So they created the nano degrees, first with Google, but now with Microsoft and IBM and Amazon too. These nano degrees give you the skills that you need to get a great job in technology. In really areas, in some cases, you can't get anywhere else. AI, deep learning. They've got a flying car, an autonomous flight engineer course. They've got intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, robotics software engineer. To create this course content, Udacity partners with industry leaders, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Amazon, selects team leads at top companies to be instructors, so you're learning from people who really use this and know this stuff, not somebody who learned it 10 years ago and is still teaching it. If you love learning and you're always looking to know more tech stuff, Udacity's for you. And if you want a better job, If you want to get in the tech industry, this is the way to do it. Udacity can help you master the latest tech skills and techniques. What I love about it is, of course, you've got the videos you can watch with these great instructors, but every Udacity course is project-based. It's active learning. They want you to get hands-on with these technologies. That's so important. It's one thing to learn it. It's another thing to actually implement it. There's NVIDIA and Twitter, too. That's another couple of companies that create courses for Udacity. Cutting-edge technology. You'll do these projects. Your homework and projects are reviewed by qualified professionals. But don't worry, you're not going it alone. You'll have human feedback and reviews, but also access to mentors 24/7. So it is a team working with you to get your skills up to snuff. And you can do it in your spare time. Put in as little as 5 to 10 hours a week, any time of the day or night. They know many of you have day jobs, but want a better job. You can graduate in as little as 3 months. This is the depressing stat from the World Economic Forum. 75 million jobs today will be replaced in the next 3 years by automated processes. 75 million. That's why a lot of people are going to Udacity to get ready for the jobs of the future. 14 million people use Udacity in over 240 countries. Just do me a favor. Just look at udacity.com. Take a look at all the different courses. If you find something that piques your interest, maybe a nano degree you really want, I want you to take a look at our offer. Now, this is only going through the end of June 30th, 2021. Go to udacity.com/twit. The offer code is TWIT75, and it's for 75%. 75% off any program. Offer code TWIT75. Flexible payment options. Learn at your own pace and schedule. There are free courses, too. You might want to take one of those just to get a sense of what Udacity could do. There's courses in polishing your GitHub profile, your resume on LinkedIn, marketing, networking, all of that kind of stuff. And if you're a business and you want to get your team up to snuff in cutting-edge technologies like data science, AI, cybersecurity, check out Udacity for Enterprise. You can upskill your entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. It's all in the enterprise section at Udacity's website, udacity.com/twit. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. The world needs your brains. You need the skills to get those jobs. It's a perfect match, and you can get it on at udacity.com/twit. And don't forget that offer code TWIT75, but you've got to hurry. You've only got about 10 more days. The offer expires June 30th, 2021. Udacity.com/twit. Thank you, Udacity, for supporting This Week in Tech. And thank you, dear listener, for supporting us by using that special address, udacity.com/twit, and the offer code TWIT75. Let's see, what else? Oh, this was actually a shocker to me. I didn't realize data centers use so much water.
Yes.
The City Council of Mesa, Arizona approved a giant data center for Apple in Mesa, Arizona. The data center uses 1.25 million gallons of water every day. Mesa, like much of the country, is going through a drought. We're getting a serious drought here in California. Some of the city council is saying, well, hold on there, 1.25 million gallons of water, and it doesn't benefit Mesa particularly. There are 1,800 data centers all over the country, many of them using a huge amount of water. Virginia Tech estimates 1/5 of data centers draw water from moderate to highly stressed watersheds, mostly out here in the West. There's a cost to that Google search, to that iCloud storage, that it goes beyond the couple of bucks a month you're paying for it. Spending on global data center infrastructure will reach $200 billion a year, according to Gartner. That's up 6%, and then should go up 3 to 4% annually over the next 3 years. At the same time as drought goes crazy. The typical data center actually uses 3 to 5 million gallons of water. That's the same amount a day. The same amount of water as a city of 30 to 50,000 people. Holy cow.
I don't have to do it. I mean, the only other way is to make it way more expensive to run, because we're talking about hyperscale data centers, and hyperscale data centers have such a high density that you need massive amount of cooling.
It's for cooling.
Right.
But didn't Google look at putting them underwater? I mean, there were companies building these
Google,
things.
Microsoft, either locating them underwater or putting them in areas of the world where natural cooling can be taken advantage of. But if you drop a data center in the middle of Arizona, there ain't no cool place. And the evaporative coolers use up a ton of water.
Where does the water go? In the air?
It goes in the air because you've got these huge towers that are running like cascading waterfalls of water. And as it evaporates, it cools and you can pipe it back into the data center. Now, you could do traditional closed loop cooling, but that's on an order of 10x to 20x more expensive because it's way more energy intensive.
Wow.
It's cheaper for them just to let the water evaporate.
This is depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even tenable. I don't know if
It's not.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. I mean, that water.
We talk about
comes from us.
farms requiring a lot of water, but it's the fraction of that, and we need the almonds. But, wow. That's terrifying. We're really, things are very dry here right now.
I remember I had a conversation with Greenpeace maybe 2 years ago about some of this stuff and data center use and how energy efficient. That feels like that's probably wouldn't be my beat necessarily, but it feels like that's a topic that we should be talking about a little bit more because I don't know that I see a lot about Bitcoin energy and it being bad, and maybe it is, I don't know. But like this data set, that doesn't sound tenable. Yeah, you're right. So
Bitcoin is easy to identify and attack because it's something that a lot of people don't use. And so therefore it's the bad guy.
Right.
And yes, it is super inefficient. It uses up a lot of energy. Then the energy is essentially the capital that you're putting into the system. But for you to have always on access to everything that you want requires all these data centers to be spun up at all times of the day, requires all the massive amounts of infrastructure to be connected to each other. So you're participating. Everyone's participating in these hyperscale data centers because that's why these things work.
We were talking, you were showing that you've got some new Anchor GAN chargers, and we were talking about it. I saw that a number of companies, particularly Rav Power and Aukey, have been removed from Amazon for soliciting reviews.
Yes.
And I was a little bit shocked. Apparently, Amazon just recently yanked Rav Power, Vava, and Tautronics. They're all share a parent company, a Chinese company. And I think it all started with a Wall Street Journal report showing that the reporter Nicole Nguyen had, when she bought a new charger from Rav Power, got a coupon in there offering $35 in a gift card for an Amazon review.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good money. It's also against Amazon's rules
Very
and has
much
been
so.
for 5 years. Yeah. So apparently that was the... Now, I like Rav Power. I buy their
products are
batteries
actually pretty good.
Yeah, their chargers.
My Charge, Rav Power, they actually made decent product, but they felt as if they didn't stack the reviews, they don't get to the top of Amazon search, and therefore they lose out.
Yeah.
So it was a calculated bet, and they lost.
Yeah, they lost. And I think I understand. You were talking, Nicholas, about the problem Amazon's having with phony reviews. They're blaming social media. How many reviews on Amazon do you think are fake? Because I don't buy something unless I read the reviews first.
I've been solicited for them.
Really?
Yeah, a lot.
That's the real
Probably at
value,
least
or
once-
was
one
the
or
real
two a
value
week.
of Amazon for me, was those reviews.
I couldn't even estimate how many of those are. But what I do personally, if it's not something that, let's say, I don't know, headphones or whatever, I'll often Google like blah, 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 Reddit, and to find the people talking about
That's
the thing.
a better
like,
way to do it.
Is this like, I'm currently shopping around for some home theater stuff. And so I'm typing all the models and like Reddit and seeing if people talk about them, and like actual humans, at least Reddit to my knowledge hasn't been like gamified or like subverted in that way yet, but I feel like
tell if they're phony. I mean,
Not if they're written well.
yeah, but how many are written well?
No, okay. So a lot of the spam ones, just
You can
discard
kinda
those.
tell.
But if someone's actually going into detail about what they used it for,
Well, that's the problem with this gift card thing, because that may actually solicit somebody who's really cares to write that review.
Right.
Amazon says it removed more than 200 million suspected fake reviews in 2020 alone before they were seen by customers. So, I mean, that's a huge number.
Now, something interesting I find about this story is a while back, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, I was solicited for a set of reviews for products that I had only searched for on Amazon.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say a set of steak knives. Oh, okay. So you...
No, so these were products I had only looked for on Amazon. I hadn't Googled for them. I just thought, oh, those are interesting. And then, like, the next day...
They knew that you'd seen that
right.
listing.
I'm like, so is Amazon selling that data? I mean, they have to be. That's the only way that they could have gotten it.
They must be.
They were able to buy a list of people who looked at their product but didn't buy. And suddenly they said, hey, we'd love to give you a free X, Y, or Z. All we would ask is you write a review.
I find it hard to believe that Amazon is selling that first-party data to people. I mean, that's the secret sauce.
Well, how would they get that?
There's no way.
Well, that's what I thought. I'm like, no way Amazon would risk that. But then, how in the world did they get that?
It's the same story with Facebook is listening to us on our devices, which is that oftentimes, we might think that our behaviors or the products we're interested in are, very idiosyncratic or specific to ourselves. But once you can, target someone with some broad targeting criteria, you could generally figure out what they like and what they want. And in fact, when I would speak to people who used to work in the front offices in Amazon, they would tell me that they could tell you everything about the way that people live in a certain zip code.
Absolutely.
All they needed is a zip code.
All they need is a zip code.
Their leisure.
That's been going on for decades.
They know everything. Yeah. So it's not as if they needed to necessarily search, your search history on Amazon, which Amazon would never sell because that's what powers the whole marketplace.
Right.
It could just be that they guessed pretty well, which is why the same thing that happens when people say
you didn't
Facebook
click
listen.
anything. You just opened that page.
I just
looked
opened
at
that
the
page.
product, went on.
This was for a backpack, a solar-powered backpack.
So it's highly unlikely they would have said, "Oh, that Father Robert, he buys a lot of solar-powered backpacks."
And so it was such a niche thing, and it was so different than anything I've ever searched.
And then
for.
the next day after looking at that listing,
I got an offer. We'll send you a free one. All we want is a review.
Quite a coincidence.
And the way they phrased it was interesting because they said, we don't want to buy a positive review. We just want to make sure you share your experience on Amazon.
Amazon gets upset about that. Yeah.
Amazon's maybe you blaming have some malware installed in your computer where they're tracking.
Do you have honey on your computer?
It's possible.
Do you have honey?
It's always possible.
Do you use the Edge browser?
I do.
Have you noticed the Edge browser? If you start to buy something, will fire up and give you 100 coupons for that
Really?
off. Yeah, I think it's the Edge browser.
I have never seen that.
Microsoft's selling it. It's the weirdest thing.
Is that only with the honey plug? Because I don't have
No.
plugin.
It's built into Edge.
It's built into Edge? I mean, I've been using Edge for a while now. I've never gotten a coupon offer.
Go to a Lenovo and
oh no.
So this is
we all have malware on our computers.
No. This is Microsoft Edge now has, this is from The Verge of November of last year, coupon and promo codes built in. It just did it. Get up to 22% cash back. It just did it. Lenovo.
Oh man, now I have to dump.
Now,
Edge.
if you click a laptop and start to order it, it'll look for it on other sites.
That is horrible. No, Microsoft, I was with you, but now we're done.
It's built into Edge.
No.
We found 10 coupons. Microsoft Edge is trying available coupons. Summer 20 was applied to your cart. But you know what? They saved a lot of money. They saved me like $1,700 on Lenovo
now
laptop.
Microsoft knows what
But now they know.
Surfs.
They basically built honey into Edge.
That's not cool. That's so not cool.
We now know
Can I turn
culprit.
that off? Is there a way to get rid of that?
Why would you ever want to turn that off?
Great. Now
I'm sure there is a setting.
I'll have to do everything from the Brave browser now.
Yeah. No more Edge for you.
I liked Edge because it is actually much faster than Chrome. Chrome got so junkified.
I won't use Chrome. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to use Chrome.
Should use the Links browser. Text
Links,
only.
baby. Text only.
As God intended, I believe.
As God
so
intended.
that's the Zork of browsers. I like it.
Actually, Tim Berners-Lee is selling the source code for the World Wide Web as an NFT.
Okay.
I'm glad. TBL, who invented the World Wide Web when he was a physicist at CERN at the Particle Research Lab.
He deserves something.
He felt like physicists should be able to kind of comment on each other's papers and they should be able to have, hyperlinks and stuff like that. Invented the World Wide Web on a Next Cube. It's the first time, according to NBC, so you got to trust them. The first time Tim Berners-Lee has been able to capitalize financially on what is widely viewed as one of the greatest inventions of our time.
Okay, I want to reward him. He should do well. Someone buy it for like $1 billion.
Well,
please.
the funny thing is Sotheby's is auctioning it off June 23rd through 30th. The bidding starts at $1,000.
Look, if Nyan Cat can go for, what was it, 600 grand
Yeah.
in Ethereum tokens,
Yeah.
I think he can get a couple hundred.
The NFT includes...
He's going to make Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
He's going to make a ton of money off of it, but I still don't really understand this whole NFT thing.
No one does. That's okay.
You get
Don't worry
nothing
about
for
it.
It's the
having
TikTok
token.
of the crypto crowd.
The NFT.
TikTok, I understand TikTok way more than I understand NFTs. At least you can enjoy TikTok.
Alex,
right?
did you ever buy a Beanie Baby hoping it was going to make more money when it was a year later? Or perhaps baseball cards?
I don't
Comics.
deny buying physical collectibles. The digital collectible, I don't get it because maybe I'm wrong about this, but can't you build, multiple ownership tokens on a bunch of different blockchains and then end up having like this NFT and that NFT? I don't know.
So with the addition of Taproot to Bitcoin, it's now more amenable to smart contracts, which means you could technically build that on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's.
In fact,
it's all
the
just
provenance
pixels.
is kind of is in a way that, say, a baseball card isn't. Is very provable, right?
Yes. But some of the people who were early adopters of NFTs, early investors of NFTs, have realized that you're not actually buying the asset; you're buying a pointer to the asset.
Here is the auction listing. Yes, you're not. No, yeah, you don't own the source code.
Right? So if the asset, if the hosting for the asset goes away, you can't access it anymore.
Look at this. He's writing this. What is this? Objective C?
This is what you're buying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get an original archive of dated and time-stamped files containing the source code, written between October 3rd, 1990, and August 24th, 1991. That's about 10,000 lines of code. And you get this, an animated visualization of the code.
Wait, can't we just download that?
You could right now. Let's right-click it and save it and save video as. Now I own the same video. It's an MPEG 4, so you can download it right from Sotheby's page. But it's not signed by TBL. You also get a SVG of the full code, which is 841 millimeters wide by 1189 millimeters high, created by Sir Tim from the original files using Python, with graphic representation of his physical signature at the lower right. You get a letter written in the readme.md file in, quote, markdown format by Sir Tim in June 2021, reflecting upon the code and his process of, hey, it's better than the latest Wu-Tang Clan album. I mean...
You know what this feels like?
What?
You remember all those radio commercials you would hear back in the day where you could buy your loved one a star?
Yeah, it's like buying a star.
Yeah, that's basically what this is.
Well, that all turned out to be a scam. By the way, I'm going to just, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to fact check The Verge on this thing because they said he's never benefited directly from writing the code that started the web. I'm on technologyspeakers.com and and the fee range is $100,000 or more. I don't know if this is accurate. I just Googled it, but
that's a good point. Yeah.
Come on, this guy's made some money from starting the web.
I was a little suspicious when it was NBC that said it, but I was a little suspicious when they said it.
Oh, NBC, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, come on, really? Mm-hmm. He's made some money off of this thing. He runs the W3C. I'm sure he gets paid to do that. He's Tim Berners-Lee. He's a freaking sir. That's not monetary value, but
I mean, you can't really capitalize on the sir.
Yeah, he got a sir. Anyway, Sotheby's tomorrow. Everybody, you could spend money on Prime Day tomorrow, or are you going crazy tomorrow, Nicholas, because of Prime Day?
I went crazy last week. We were looking at some of the stuff slightly ahead of time to be ready for tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff. It's a fun day. It's exciting. People are into it. But for the people kind of writing about it, it is a lot of hours.
Every tech blogger I know dreads Prime Day.
to keep up to date with where people should be going and what they should be
And
buying.
then, of course, Target's doing deal days, and Best Buy's doing bigger deal sale, and Walmart's doing deals for days. So all of these are all piled up, one on top of the other, tomorrow and the next day.
I won't be doing any of them.
No.
Yeah, it kind of feels like to me, like in pro wrestling, when the same two guys fight each other over and over again, you lose interest in the match. Prime Day kind of is like a couple years ago. It was, oh wow, neat! Look, I get this SD card for 31% off, or whatever it is. It feels like it's losing the excitement a little bit. I don't know. I'm totally in favor of folks saving money. If tomorrow's the type of day, if you want a Kindle, tomorrow's
it's a good day to buy
it.
stuff from Amazon. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Like the Echo. Or
I have a list of things that I need to buy anytime big sales come up, and that list has been empty for like a year. I really don't need anything.
If you use the Edge browser,
oh my god,
it'll tell you.
I know. I feel so bad about that.
It'll tell you.
That's terrible.
I feel bad too.
I'm gonna find a way to block that.
I'm sure it's a switch you could turn off. It's got to be. I'm still watching the source code.
I think you should put that on a screen in the back and just let that go.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This isn't Python. I think this is Objective C. It's for the next computer, right? It's object oriented.
Watching this go by on the screen, I'm starting to change my perspective. It's so mesmerizing, and I think a token pointing to it would be worth all the money.
This is the rest of the episode. We're just going to
let this run, and thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful Twit episode. Thank you, Alex Kantrowitz, Big Technology Podcast. Get it right. No, keep the scroll going. We don't need to see Alex. We want to see Tim Berners-Lee's source code. Look,
I'm in the internet.
He can see the matrix.
That's the matrix, baby. Bigtechnology.substack.com @Kantrowitz. No. You get to pretend you're typing. Pretend you're typing. Bring up the text a little bit more.
There you
go.
And
then you act like you're typing this out, like you're inventing the World Wide Web right now.
Oh, did you see that? He's a space guy, not a tab guy.
Oh, is he? Did you see tabs or spaces?
I was seeing spaces. That was the thumb moving. Tab.
Oh boy, Alex, busted.
Tabs are superior.
Apparently, I would disagree. I would fight you to death over that, but apparently, Father Robert Ballester has the heretical notion that tabs are better than spaces.
Tabs.
He is also the digital Jesuit. Go to his Twitter account, PadreSJ, if you want to get in the server and play some Minecraft. I'm going to get in there. I didn't want to play in the Valheim server until I was the beefiest Viking around.
Well, now you can show me around because I am horrible.
I am a beefy hell of a... I got padded armor. I've got a black metal sword.
I'm still running around naked.
I could kill you without even touching you. With a look, into me. I could just bump into you. I am the beefiest Viking around. Thank you, Father Robert. We really appreciate it. Also, thanks so much, Nicholas De Leon from the Consumer Reports, senior reporter, Consumer Reports. Is it cr.org?
That works. ConsumerReports.org also works. You just search Consumer Reports. We'll pop up.
You should be a member. Tabs or spaces? Which is it? What do you?
I think I always did spaces. Actually.
It's spaces.
Sorry.
Why? Tabs are.
That's just so many.
No, but
Wait,
that's.
hold on.
It is. You're right.
Well, we got to talk about this for a minute. I don't want to leave here without understanding the argument for tabs. So.
Yeah, what is the argument? There is no good argument.
What are we doing with the tab?
So when you're coding, we set our hierarchy of loops and such.
Just watch this code while we talk.
You need to
watch
offset.
the code. See this?
This is basically what I was just trying to do. I want to get the code back on the screen.
Get that code back on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
And the question is, do you indent by hitting tab once or twice, or you type
space a bunch?
Now, if you're using Emacs and you hit tab, it'll convert it to spaces because that's the only one true form.
Right.
So you could use it as a shortcut key, I guess. But ultimately, it can't be tabs. It has to be spaces.
You know what? The only reason people like spaces is because it feels better to thump it with your thumb versus tab with the pinky.
I'm going to accept it that you're pinkying your tab, but I want it to be replaced by spaces because otherwise it's the formatting. You don't know what you're going to get.
I'm going to make a big button that just sits on the side of the keyboard, but like you can just slap it and it will tab. And I bet people will use that more than the space bar.
I wonder how long this
seems like a lot of work.
I wonder how long.
Feels good.
This is the most.
I appreciate you explaining this, but I
am so impressed that with Tim Berners-Lee's comments, he came back. There's no way this is what it looked like when he first wrote it.
No.
He has gone back in. He has added comments. He's added lines. He's cleaned the whole thing up. He's really...
I've gotten better about commenting my code as I go. I no longer let it become spaghetti and then go back and go, why did I write this?
Look at this. History. Written by Tim Berners-Lee.
I'm downloading that. That's actually...
It's really a cool
that
video.
In my background. Yeah.
This is my new screensaver. That'd be a great screensaver. And guess what? You don't have to buy the NFT to do this. Just it's an
Actually,
MP4.
that's the next version. That's
right
Windows
click
12.
and save.
It's Windows 12. We're watching it right
yeah.
now. Actually, you might not be too far off. The World Wide Web basically is the future of all operating systems. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Robert. It's great to have all of you. Thank you for being here. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. No, what time do we do it at? 2:30 p.m. I don't even know. When I get here. 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, 21:30 UTC. You can watch us do it live at twit.tv/live. There's a live audio stream and video stream. If you're doing that, chat live, irc.twit.tv. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at our website, twit.tv. There's also a YouTube channel dedicated to Twit. In fact, we have I want to send everybody to youtube.com/twit for our new Tech Break feature. Whenever breaking news happens, we've been, saying, well, we'll wait till Twit in 3 days. No, we're going to cover it right then. Jason Howell, Micah Sargent, Ant Pruitt, and I, something comes up, we're going to put that on the Twit Tech Break feed, twit.tv/TB if you want to subscribe to that. There's also a YouTube channel for that. Let's see, we're talking about Twit. Oh, subscribe in your favorite podcast player to any of our podcasts. Just search for Twit. You'll find the network probably in all the shows. If you like a show, leave us a 5-star review. If you don't like it, we're called Big Tech Podcast. If you don't like it, just leave a review.
That's my nemesis.
Big Tech Podcast.
Yeah, don't subscribe.
Alex, don't subscribe to it. Leave a 1-star review.
Big Technology Podcast.
No. You missed the point. I was sending the bad reviews to Big Tech Podcast. Oh,
I see. Yeah.
The good reviews.
Do it anyway. Do it anyway.
We also have a club for people who hate advertising. I don't blame you. Who wants to listen to Leo read an ad? Just go to twit.tv/clubtwit, subscribe, ad-free versions of all the show's audio and video. Ad-free means tracker-free too. Got to point that out. You also get access to our wonderful Discord channel, some great people in there, and our Twit Plus bonus feed with all the stuff that didn't make it to the shows. Yes, I admit that makes it sound like it wasn't as good as the other shows. It's not, but it's free. So, well, it's $7 a month actually. So
that's like free.
It's practically free. Yeah. It's less than a couple of Starbucks. So go on out there, subscribe, twit.tv/clubtwit. It's really what you're doing. Those are little extra benefits, but what you're really doing is getting the source code for the worldwide. No. What you're really doing is supporting our efforts to keep you amused in these troubled times. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. And now I shall read a dramatic reading of the source code for the World Wide Web. For tab equals 0, tab ampersand LT, P sorry.
No. You have to read this properly. Space.
More space, spaces, more space.
Doing the Twit.